Oh, you know what I love?
Sports.
Love sports.
Sports. When
it comes to
Texas A&M.
Where are you getting this information?
let me tell you.
Welcome to TexAgs.
TexAgs Live.
I feel like I should be listening to the theme song from the Jeffersons. You know, we're moving on up.
We will develop men, we will graduate players, and we will win championships on the field.
It's a blessing to be in this position, and we're just thankful to be here. We're thankful to have the opportunity to go out there and play in front of the 12 men.
He is a guy that has gotten better and better and better. He's just got that dog in him.
It's been special. The 12th man this past week was unbelievable.
And this is a real program. It's not fake. This is a real place. And if you want to be really good at football, this is a really good place to be.
You know, if I'm betting on anybody, it's the Aggies.
Buchanan.
Nuño.
You know, I'm pretty process driven. I kind of got a way about going about things. I'm really good with time. If I say I want to leave the house at 7:20, that means I'm leaving the house at 7:20. You know, with kids, sometimes it could be 7:22, 7:23, but I'm pretty process driven. You know that about me, right?
Yeah, you're in the process of driving right now, it looks like. Hello?
I guess David lost us. You got us, David?
No, I lost you, but I'm here.
Oh, hey.
Guys, so here's the deal. I'm here. I'm in the parking lot. There was a 45-minute, I call it 42-minute traffic jam on Highway 6 that I know most of the Brazos Valley was dealing with. I don't know if there was an accident. Prayers if there was. But it was crazy out there. But I'm ready to talk some Duke Miles. So, Nick, why don't you start things off with OB so I can put my mic on and actually give the people a real show?
Yeah, absolutely. So, bye, David. See you in a second.
Bye.
So, OB.
Yeah.
Duke Miles gets the commit yesterday afternoon-ish. Oklahoma transfer. Pretty good get for, I think I read, Luke's article. He said might be a starter from day one. He's played a lot of basketball, older guy, last year of eligibility. Just your thoughts on Duke Miles.
Yeah, a nice addition. I don't know if he's a star player. I think he averaged around a little less than 10 points for OU last year. I saw one game against Central Arkansas. He scored 29. He had as many as, I think, 4 3-pointers in game multiple times, typically about 2 or 3. All right, fine. He was that guy that, like I said, he had 29 in one game. I think he might have had like 19 or 20 against Michigan when they beat Michigan. But then there's other games, he probably had just as many games where he's in single digits. So he's not necessarily that guy that you lean on every night thinking, okay, we've got to get 15 points out of this guy. But if you're not careful, this guy's going to go out and score 15 or 20 against you too. So, a nice addition, no doubt.
Yeah, so that brings the total in the transfer class at this point to 5. And I guess if you want to count the players that were already going to be on the roster, they're up to 7. So starting to put together somewhat of a basketball team. And I know he's still actively recruiting and hosting guys day in and day out. So it'll be interesting to see who they add next.
Yeah. It probably won't have to wait long if the way he's been recruiting and I say recruiting, do you call that the transfer portal? Is that considered recruiting, or is it? Is there another word for
negotiation?
Negotiation.
That's one way to put it.
However it is, he's put together a team pretty fast. So I wouldn't be surprised if they add to the team in a pretty short order.
Absolutely. And with that, ladies and gentlemen,
David,
this is a professional show. Could you imagine if I did this at ESPN? It'd be a wrap.
Well, it already is a wreck up there, but
your hair looks good, buddy.
Thank you. And it was time for a haircut. And, summertime comes, so I'll go shorter in the summertime.
And then put long sleeves on. But it's a duck camp shirt.
It's duck camp.
That means it's all good.
That's right.
So, look, I want to talk Duke Miles. But have you noticed in this community, there are like seasons of traffic, okay?
Oh, yeah.
So there's like the beginning of school traffic.
Uh-huh.
There's rain traffic, right?
Yes.
There's event traffic, and then there's, I don't know what just happened traffic. And this morning, I'm assuming it's a combination of kids getting back from their Easter break, maybe a couple days later, and maybe not, your face is saying, the weather, and there had to have been an accident.
I would think the weather, and there's probably the weather, I'm guessing, probably had something to do with an accident, hopefully just a fender bender.
Well, I know that the folks at Bryan Broadcasting were having a hard time getting to work as well. I think some interns have had a hard time. So note to self, don't take 6.
This is kind of reminding me, and I know this is going to be blasphemous, and I may get fired for saying this.
You probably will.
But this is reminding me of when I first moved to Austin. And the city, the population was growing too fast for the infrastructure.
Yeah.
And so, everything's getting clogged,
I got an idea. Let's just put medians everywhere.
Yeah, that'll help.
That'll just, everywhere you can look, a median. It
may not help traffic, but I'm sure some local politicians made a lot of money off of it.
All right, so let's talk Duke Miles, because this is a guy that I know they targeted and they wanted and they got. And what I love, and I don't give Luke Evangelist a lot of props. I give him props. He's an excellent basketball analyst. Sometimes I think he goes all in on his commentary, which is what we love about him. He's right. Freaking Buckyball, they're closers. This guy came on campus, was supposed to visit USC, I think it was USC, and Tennessee, and he did not leave. That happened with Mbako. What they do, they get you to campus, and they seal the freaking deal.
Well, first of all, I'm sure, I'm not around him enough, but I'm sure Bucky's personality has a lot to do with it. Haven't seen a lot of their play, but apparently the way they play is very attractive. And I always think once you get here in College Station and you look around and you see all it has to offer, you get pretty sold that way too. You see all the nice stuff, and it's clean and pretty girls. There's one staring at me like wanting to laugh at me like she thinks I'm full of bull for saying all this. But I think once you get here, you find out, hey, this is a pretty nice place to be.
Montgomery, Alabama, 6'2", 190. That's where he's from. 6-year senior. He had a nice year at Oklahoma. I think it was down compared to what he had done before. He had scheduled visits, to Tennessee, Baylor, and USC. So there's 3 that he was supposed to go. In 2020 through 2023, he was a solid player for Troy at High Point. His breakout year, averaged 17.5 points per game. He was first team All-Big South. And at Oklahoma, started 34 games, 9.4 points per game, 2.5 rebounds, a couple of assists, and a steal. So, and he shot 51% from the field and 43 from 3.
That's the thing that, of all his stats, that's the stat I welcome the most. What does he shoot from the free throw line?
From the free throw line, he shoots 83%.
Right. So probably doesn't shoot a lot of free throws because he shoots a lot of three-pointers. But, hey, Bucky says, if you can't shoot, you can't play for me. And that's quite a difference from, previous coaches.
From various different levels of competition, you've got yourself some scorers, all right? Jakari Lane can score, okay?
Yeah.
Mbako can score. Duke Miles can score, right? You've got some scorers. You've got to keep adding to the roster.
Keep adding.
But I've had these wave of thoughts when it comes to basketball next year. There was a part of me that's like, look, it's going to be a rough year. They don't have a roster, right? And I'm still kind of there, but I'm like, but maybe if they keep adding this level of player, maybe they're closer to that middle of the pack that I was kind of hoping, that maybe there isn't a drop-off at Texas A&M. Maybe. Like, this is all still a maybe because they have to fill out a roster. But the guys they've filled it with, I've been very intrigued by.
Well, that's true, and that's fair. I will say this, though. I think the right thing to do is to approach next year and say, I think everybody's going to give Bucky a lot of grace in his first year because of what he was left with, which was almost nothing, right? Having to rebuild a roster in a month. So I've said it before, just give me a winning season, and I'm going to feel like it's very successful. If you're 17-16, man, what a great job. Yes. Now, anything on top of that, if you get into the tournament, Bucky might be canonized, if that's the right way to say it. But canonized, I don't know how you say it. But however he should be.
And if he gets to the second week?
Oh, my gosh.
We're not building statues, but we're celebrating.
We might build a statue. But yeah, at least you'll put somebody's jersey in the rafters.
As long as you go 6-6.
Like I said, I'm keeping my mind wide open. I like what I've seen, and I still think though it's going to be unfair to expect more than a winning season. If you can get a winning season, he's done a great job. And if he does better than that, then everybody should be all in after next season moving forward.
Tony in Lexington asked, does he read self-help books? Is he talking about me or is he talking about Buzz?
He's talking about the buzzard. The buzzard that flew.
I don't mind self-help books.
If you need self-help.
I'd like to write one.
Okay.
Yeah. You think Buzz would read it?
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or have ChatGPT the main points from it?
Just make sure in your self-help you have a chapter about, dressing well.
I can have and not wearing shorts and
yeah, he's.
Oh, you're talking about like suits, like
yeah,
he does wear quality.
He's
suits,
kind of obsessive about.
Yeah, I'm kind of jealous of the wardrobe. I don't know if I'd wear the same suits, but it's a very nice. They're very nice.
He's well dressed,
very well dressed,
dapper,
and he's strong.
He is. He works out all the time.
Yeah, but Bucky, that guy can run the floor, or at least his players can.
Yeah, I don't care what my coach looks like on the sideline as long as his team is winning. And to be fair, the team won last year.
They won. They were great. They were
probably
fun.
Didn't win at the level that he should have.
I will always love that era of Aggie basketball. It was a great era. I enjoyed it. Great for memories. Great for player relations. All that. Like I enjoyed that era. I am ready for the next era, but I enjoyed that era.
They had some great victories.
They did.
But their March performance was mediocre at best. And
March NCAA tournament.
Well, yeah.
Because I think they the most part, they did really well in the SEC tournament.
Yeah, they got to the finals a couple times.
Yeah. To the semifinals
but
one time?
When I say March, I'm talking...
You're talking about the real March.
And his players loved him and they played hard for him, but I don't know, maybe you can get some players in here that love their coach and love their university.
And enjoy dunking and scoring.
Shooting the ball.
Hey, Henry Coleman loved this university, no doubt.
Taylor,
yes. No doubt.
In fact, I wish everybody, not just the athlete, I wish everybody that came here would love the university the way Henry Coleman does.
He embodies the spirit of Texas A&M.
Without a doubt. Not only he lives it, and he's a good guy, and he was a good player. Henry Coleman's what you want everybody that comes to, no matter what sport they play. Henry Coleman is what you want all those guys to be. He's not just playing for his team; he's playing for his university.
You know what I think we should do?
What?
I think we should do the old switcheroo in the next segment. We go, no, maybe not. We should talk about the Holistic Planning Cool Zone, though. I like that place.
Well, it's cool.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of planning, and they do it holistically.
They do plan, yeah.
Yeah.
They don't get stuck in traffic.
You're forgiven. It happens.
There's one guy who has texted the show before that thinks I show up to work late all the time.
Really?
Yeah. I only wake up at 4:30 for the show.
Now, I know there have been times you've come in as the show's starting, but you're here.
Yeah, but I started working well before. That's a promise.
The Holistic Planning Cool Zone, they do cool stuff to help you get and maintain money, right? Mm-hmm. Like, investments. A lot of us don't know a lot about the stock market. Man, they're dialed in. They're going to help you with your investments. They're going to help you plan your estate.
Yep.
So you can save some of that money for when you're old like me and you're no longer working. Taxes time has passed, but for next year, they can help you with your taxes so you can keep more of that money.
I love money.
Money. What's fun? Look, we don't know a lot about stocks. Not all of us. Stephen McGee would say, hey, I know what I'm talking about, but a lot of us don't know about stocks. But you know what we do know? We know about pro sports.
Oh, and do we?
Well, I think we do.
We know how. We would know not to trade Luca. So invest in prosports.com. Learn.
There you go.
There you go.
I'd say he had 31 last night.
He's good, and they won. And this was after Anthony Edwards was talking trash to him.
Yeah.
I'm not a Lakers fan, though. I can't. So why am I interested?
Because
I love Luke.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. Definitely not
No,
Luke.
not that dude. Anyway, I don't know if the people know what they're listening to or watching.
Huh.
This is the late edition of TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio, the Go Hour, presented by The Warehouse at CC Creations. He's OB.
I am.
I'm David Nuño.
You are.
Nick Savage is behind the glass. If you want, and he already said hi, but we'll check in with him again. If you want to call the show, 979-693-1150. That's the Buppy's Catering Hotline. Nick, you talked to us about Duke Miles. Anything else on your mind? Oh,
well,
Aggie baseball.
Yeah, I was about to say, we haven't even really touched on Aggie baseball's 13-3 run rule victory. Terrence Keel, the second, hits his first home run in the maroon and white. Blake Benderup goes deep twice. He is found his stroke for sure. Jace Laviolette, 2 for 3. Sorrell goes deep. So a lot of faces got into the game as well. Then Trisha Ford, of course. What do you think they did yesterday?
A lot of home runs.
A lot of home runs and another win. They are 40, if I can find the schedule. There it is. They are 40-6 going into the final 2 series of the year, and it's against number 9 Arkansas, who will be coming here this weekend. Another top 10 SEC series, and then they'll go on the road to face the number 1 Lady Vols. So we'll all be keeping our eye on that.
Trisha will be in studio later on today.
Going on the road to play a Tennessee team that's ranked number 1?
Oh.
I wonder how that could go.
Well, let's take care of business first this weekend against Arkansas.
Yeah. Big Suey.
Yeah. And then also baseball has a pretty big series coming up.
I would think that the no disrespect to the softball team playing the Piglets, but I think most of the attention is going to be focused on the baseball series.
I wonder if America is back on A&M's side. Remember when the whole thing?
Of course, because America starts with A&M.
This is a good point. And there's an M in there too, yeah.
Well, but still.
A and M.
I know it's A, but America starts with A and M.
That's what I would say.
Yes.
Anyway, let's go to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. Kaylee Dreyer.
Good morning.
How are you today?
Good. How are you?
Why did my voice do Valley Girl on you? I'm sorry.
How are you?
I'm good. What's going on with you?
Oh, not much, but we do have a comment on the YouTube chat that says, Bucky is ballin' and Benderup is still blasting. Huge props to Early and Longley for unlocking that guy.
A lot of B's in there.
That's right. Ballin' and blasting. Benderup and Bucky.
What else do you have
And then also going off of kind of what Nick said about softball last night, KK DeMint hit her 10th home run of the season in the win last night versus Louisiana, and she is the 10th Aggie freshman to hit at least 10 home runs in a season.
She's awesome.
They got demented.
We're going to make that shirt.
Yeah, but you know who else had a big day?
Who's that? Tell me more.
She's going to tell you a bit.
Oh, I want to
have some more softball?
I do have another softball note from Coco Woolley.
Coco
and KK.
And KK.
She was named SEC.
What accent is that?
I don't know.
I like it. Go ahead.
She was named SEC Co-Player of the Week. And just to recap.
Co-Player of the Week. KO Player of the Week.
Nice, yeah.
I like
that. So that's an OB line right there.
And just to recap, in her series at Missouri, she had 7 hits, 9 total bases, and 3 stolen bases. She moved to number 5 all-time on A&M's career hit list with 233 total hits and ranks number 7 all-time with 155 runs.
Well, thank you very much.
Now, didn't Allie Enright had 6 RBIs last night?
She did.
But she's in center. See, I think she should be in right. So it's in right and center, 6 RBIs. And Mac Barbara or Barbara Mack, one of them, or maybe both of them.
Return of the Mac.
Too. There's a lot of Macs out there.
Yeah.
And quick note too, after the game, Emily Kennedy, I don't know if y'all saw that. There's a new softball league, professional softball league getting started, the AUSL. And Emily Kennedy was presented with a golden ticket, which means she's getting drafted, right? Like she's a lock to get drafted. I got that right?
She's a lock. She's like a lottery pick.
Yeah, like a lottery pick. One of 12 lottery picks to start that league. So good for Emily. Good for Lefty.
Excellent.
I wish we could make her eligible for like 4 more years. It'd be great. But I get it. Go be a pro. You know, one thing about Trisha Ford, and we talked about this yesterday on the show, she has young players that are stars and veteran players that are stars, and that's how you build a program.
What, you're not putting it all in one class, so like if she's, never mind.
2022?
Well, I was just thinking like.
I got an idea, dude.
Yeah. What's your idea?
Let's just mythically think about a recruiting class, all right? Bunch of egos everywhere,
Yeah.
all right? Things just, I want it my way, all right?
Like Frank Sinatra.
Yeah, but not my way, like his was classy. I'm talking about like just a bunch of not as classy.
Right.
But then you had your opening meeting at 1775 and you set the tone.
Brings everybody together.
Yes.
Says, hey, we're all going to be together. We're all going to enjoy this together. We're all going to see quality. This is the kind of excellence we expect.
Yeah, this is the benchmark right here.
Right there. We expect the same excellence in the way you perform as the way Brandon and his brother's performing when they make that amazing barbecue.
There's a running back from that class that is the benchmark, right? And they all should aspire to be like the queso mac and cheese.
If we could all be like queso mac and like 1775 queso mac and cheese, the world would be a better place.
Yeah.
And you know what I think? I think if you hit home runs, that you should be able to, that A&M should pay for you
Barbara
to go to 1775. Barbara
bro.
Mac.
That's the new
cheese.
NIL.
Or mac and cheese Barbara.
Yeah. The queso mac and Barbara. Okay, I don't know.
Well, we'll work on it.
1775 txbbq.com.
There's an NIL deal just waiting to happen.
The intro to the show has had a little bit of everything. 979-492-6241 is 1775. As a reminder, the final segment of the program is brought to you by Double Dave's. That's at 10:50. But right now, caller number 12, we're going to hook you up with your choice of a one-topping pizza or or pepperoni rolls from your favorite Double Dave's Pizza. They've been around Aggie Land since 1984 with your favorite pizza. And, of course, those world-famous pepperoni rolls, reliable in-house delivery, bringing piping hot goodness straight to your door. Just click on doubledaves.com, and your favorites are on their way. This is TexAgs Live. We are presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. We are in the Rollo Insurance Studio. It's still the Go Hour presented by The Warehouse at CC Creations. OB, the draft, mañana.
Yep.
You ready for it?
I am ready for it.
You going to watch it?
Unfortunately, probably I will.
So I got some stuff that I think you'll be interested in.
But I mean, it's what other program will make you watch for 3, 4, 5 hours just to hear someone read names?
This is a good point. I don't even like going to graduations.
I know.
Unless it's my kid. And I just want to go to my kid's part.
Yeah. And you know what? So early graduate, right? And I wanted to leave, but you can't.
Oh, it's best to be in the middle.
Right. Like you are. So you're waiting, but at least the excitement is building.
Yeah. But if you're last, oh my gosh, I just lose. I just don't want to graduate at that point. I'm done.
Or what if you were first?
Oh,
I would act like I have to go to the bathroom real bad and then never come back.
I would fake a phone call. Let's talk about the draft.
All right.
I'm going to give you ESPN's mock draft, which I assume incorporates Mel Kiper and others. All right. Round 1, Green Bay Packers select Edgerrin. Why did they put Edgerrin? Oh, I was just reading it wrong. Shamar Stewart, 23rd overall pick.
The Packers love A&M players.
They do.
They drafted Terrence Murphy.
That's why I said Edgerrin.
They drafted Terrence Murphy. They drafted Edgerrin Cooper. They drafted Johnny Jolly. They drafted Kingsley Keke.
Yep.
They love A&M players.
I think the next one might like A&M as well.
Okay.
Round number 2, the Baltimore Ravens select Nick Scorton with the 59th overall pick.
I can see that. They draft really well, especially on defense. And they did well with the last time they drafted an A&M player.
Mm-hmm.
That Matabike fella.
He's pretty good.
He's pretty good.
How about this one, round 3?
Round 3.
I'm going to tell you the name is Shamar Turner.
Okay.
And you have to guess the program or the team.
Dallas Cowboys. Of course not. That doesn't make any sense.
Did you read the rundown? Because it's on the rundown.
Oh, is it the Cowboys?
It is on the rundown.
Okay. No, I didn't.
Would you be happy with that?
Yeah, I would. I would just say, hey, find a way to calm him down a little bit.
Yeah.
But he's a good football player. Maybe, last year he played hurt, but if you go back to 2023, there was a time when he was being talked about as the best defensive player in the country, about midway through the season. And then I think Edgerrin Cooper surpassed him. But he's a good player, man. He's third. Get him in the third round. That's a heck of a pick.
Here's another thing about the draft.
Cowboys never take Aggies.
So this is a Mel Kiper thought.
Not since Kevin.
Who do you think he has as his number 1 quarterback?
The number 1 quarterback drafted, or his number 1 quarterback?
His number 1 quarterback.
For this draft?
This draft.
I'm guessing he's going to say Jackson Dart.
He does not have Jackson Dart. I'm going to give you one more try.
I don't think he's going to say Sanders.
Okay.
Well, maybe he is saying the kid from Miami.
He's not saying the kid from Miami. He is actually saying Shadur Sanders.
He is saying Shadur?
Mm-hmm.
He
praises him for elite accuracy, toughness, and leadership.
Yeah, we'll see.
All in support of that worldwide network. Sorry.
I don't see it, but I'm not an expert. Am I saying is he good? Yeah. He's been good.
I'm going to give you his top. I'm going to give you the top 10. Okay? You want to hear this real quick before we hit a break? I'll give it to you. Shadur, number 1. Okay. Cam Ward, number 2. Jackson Dart, 3.
Okay.
Tyler Show, is that how you say it, from Louisville? Tyler Show, right?
SHOUGH, something like that, yeah.
Jalen Milroe, number 5.
Intriguing.
I'm intrigued by him.
I'd play him at running back.
Number 6, Kyle McCord.
Okay.
Number 7, Will Howard.
Yeah, he will.
Number 8, Dylan Gabriel.
Okay.
Number 9, Riley Leonard.
Okay.
Number 10, Quinn Ewers. Now, here's a couple that I found interesting. I'm just going to give you some other ones. A guy that I thought could have been a top 3 round quarterback pick had he stayed at Arkansas, KJ Jefferson. Could have.
Yeah, I think.
I don't know his numbers at UCF, but I just remember the talk around him when he was at
good player.
When he was at Arkansas, he's one of the top 2 or 3 quarterbacks in the SEC. Mm-hmm. That was the talk. I never actually saw that production from him, but because like Lenore Sellers and other big, strong quarterbacks that are hard to take down, he was probably overvalued in the SEC, and I think undervalued afterward.
I thought he was good. And I have to admit, I didn't watch Central Florida to see what they did or what they have.
But let me ask you if this is disrespect. So if he's 19, number 20, I know you're not a big fan of his game. DJU.
Well, I mean, he's number 20. If you're the 20th quarterback taken, you're probably not going to play. You're probably not going to make it. DJU is, to me, the epitome of average.
Give you some other numbers. Brady Cook, number 12.
Okay.
Graham Mertz, number 14.
He's been better than that at Florida. Of course, he's hurt, but once he got over the tendency to throw an alarming number of interceptions,
yep,
he's not bad.
Last one for you.
I would take a flyer on Graham Mertz.
Last one for you. Hudson Card. Remember his act down the road? He went to Purdue. He was number 17 on this list.
You know, I would, if I was drafting and it came down between Riley Leonard and Quinn Ewers, I'd take Ewers.
I would too. Especially at the next level.
Yeah, I think.
Riley Leonard is a college quarterback to me.
Yeah, I think so.
And I think Quinn Ewers has more upside at the next level, although I don't think he was as good as initially projected, or at least in the beginning of last year when he was listed as one of the top 3 or 4 quarterbacks. But I also think he got underrated as the season wore on, too.
Yeah, I'm not saying that he's going to go into the NFL and be a star. I bet he makes a team, though.
And of all those guys, I would probably take a flyer on Graham Mertz and KJ Jefferson.
Okay.
I would probably take a chance on them.
Just tell KJ, look, whatever you do, do not try to extend the ball from the 3-yard line. Unless you're playing the Cowboys. Then it's okay.
Let's hit a break. We'll come back with the evangelist. Luke is here. We'll talk a little bit about Duke Miles and whatever else is happening.
So we couldn't trade him?
No, we tried. We definitely tried. Let's talk about Rollo Insurance, headquartered right here on Highway 6 in College Station. They share our community's values. They're an independent agency that works for you, not their shareholders. They're the best when it comes to all of your insurance needs. They provide an objective consultation across all insurance lines available in Texas and beyond. Join thousands of Aggies who have trusted Rollo Insurance by going to rolloinsurance.com/TexAgs. When local matters hit home, like severe weather or regional economic shifts, Rollo agents understand the impact firsthand because they live here too. Their independence means they can recommend solutions for dozens of carriers. That's why so many local families have trusted Rollo Insurance. The difference is real. You can call them up at 888-44-ROLLO. That's 888-44-ROLLO, or go to rolloinsurance.com/TexAgs. That's rolloinsurance.com/TexAgs. We're back here on TexAgs Live. We're presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. The Go Hour presented by the warehouse at CC Creations. TexAgs is where all the other shows and companies get their show prep and their information. Luke, good morning, sir. Good morning. I'm aware, guys. How are you this morning?
I'm doing really well. I'm wearing my yellow shirt. That means I'm happy.
You're always happy.
Good vibes.
So,
if you're on a bicycle, that means you're in first place.
Yeah, Tour de France.
Have you ever watched?
Yeah, actually, I did a couple summers ago. I was really into it.
Yeah? Are you a Lance Armstrong guy?
I don't condone lying, cheating, or stealing.
Okay.
Good Aggie.
But who's your favorite baseball team? Basketball team?
The Rangers.
Yeah, they've cheated. Who else?
That's rich coming from a Astros fan.
90s. I was a Rangers fan in the 90s.
Yeah, you're right.
Because Jose Canseco was there.
No, you've been
the king non-cheater.
As we established a couple days ago, you like a lot of teams in Texas, and there are some people out there who can find a way to only talk bad on the teams that you like.
This is true. Duke Miles.
Yeah.
This is a name that I believe right when his name was mentioned in the portal, like everybody around Aggieland's ears perked up. They got him. It took a little bit long to get him to campus.
Yeah.
But when they got him, they sealed the deal.
Yeah, and this is a guy that Bucky's wanted for a while. So Duke Miles beat Bucky McMillan's last high school basketball team at, I believe, it was in the state championship, heavily underdog team. Duke Miles, they led a 9-point comeback in the second half to send Bucky McMillan packing, essentially, in high school. He takes the Samford job. Duke Miles is one of the first players he offers. They end up being in his top 3 with Troy and North Alabama. He ends up picking Troy over Samford. So when he enters the portal in 2023 out of Troy, Bucky wants him again, can't get him to Samford. He ends up going to High Point for a year, plays for Allen Huss. Then he goes to Oklahoma, and now Bucky McMillan is the head coach at Texas A&M and finally gets Duke Miles, a player that he's wanted multiple times before, and it's clear that he believes he would be a great fit in this system if he's tried to recruit him at every level so far. So to me, this is a guy that was Oklahoma's third leading scorer behind Jeremiah Fears, who might be a lottery pick, and Jalen Moore, who's another very solid player who has a professional future. And Duke Miles slots in as one of your starters in the backcourt day one with the production that he had at Oklahoma, the way he shoots the 3 at 43%. It's just everything Bucky is looking for.
Remind me,
player.
And I know Obi's got a question for you. Remind me, Oklahoma's scoring as a team. What did they average? Or ballpark? Are they like in the 80s or?
They were.
They weren't considered an offensive juggernaut, though, right?
But like the offense wasn't their issue. It was typically their defense.
Their defense. Okay. The reason I'm saying all that is if he was the third option at Oklahoma, averaging just under 10, in my mind, I feel Bucky Ball is going to be a more offensive approach to that.
Yeah.
So we could see 12, 13 points. I guess I'm just trying to forecast.
Absolutely, yeah. Anytime you're playing in a system that was 13th offensively in the country in offense at Samford with Samford talent in the SoCon, you have to think that's going to play well in the SEC with the level of talent that they're pulling in the portal right now, the level of talent that that's still out there that they're trying to pull in to this roster. So to me, it seems like they could just be primed for maybe a 1 or 2 or 3 point uptick in scoring just from, this is a guy who, it's not like he's a mid-major player who is averaging 17 a game and you don't know how his game is going to translate to the SEC.
It's already translated.
Duke Miles has already translated his game to the SEC, going from 17 a game at High Point to just under 10 a game at Oklahoma. So give him another year in the SEC in a higher scoring system. It is not out of the question to think that he could average double figures.
Oklahoma averaged last year 78.3 points a game, which was 14th in the SEC. Pretty close to a team we know.
Well, I would expect him to average in double figures if he was 9.4 at Oklahoma last year. My question is, among other things, well, first of all, let me say this. Bucky obviously is nothing if not stubborn. And he perseveres, does he not?
Yeah.
He says, I wanted you out of high school. I had to wait 5 years, but I still got where I wanted to go. But just how big an impact is this guy going to make from the three-point line? Because he does have a good percentage, but as I was looking over, it seems like for the most part he made 2 a game.
Yeah.
Which, having watched Buzz Williams' team for the last 6 years, to a game is is very acceptable.
Right.
But what's realistic for this guy? I mean, what should we realistic? You don't want to put unrealistic expectations on a guy coming in that averaged 9.4.
Yeah.
At Oklahoma.
I think it's fair to say he's going to get more looks per game in a higher paced offense that wants to play fast and take a lot of threes. But you're right. It's not like there are other players in the portal that were averaging 5 or 6 3-point attempts per game. He's not a pure shooter, but he is a guy that can shoot the three. And I think that's what Bucky is looking for ultimately, is guys who can shoot the three. And there have been players that have been recruited to A&M. I have one in my mind who shot at a very high level at a non-Power 5 school and then couldn't shoot threes here. And
there's been a few.
Yeah. So I think the point is he's looking for guys who have proven that they can shoot from a high percentage.
He sounds to me not in the way he plays, going to play his position. I'm just talking about in 3-point shooting, because you said he's not a great, necessarily a pure shooter, but a good scorer.
Right.
And that's how I would have described Wade Taylor. Now, I'm not saying, look, that he's the point guard like Wade and all those things, but Wade was a guy that he might miss 10 3-pointers in a row, but then he might hit 4 in a row. So we might be getting something similar to that in terms of 3-point, and hopefully he'll be even more consistent.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to take as many as Wade per game, though.
So let's play a impossible game.
Right.
Okay, it's impossible because we don't know the roster, right?
Right.
But right now, 7 players on the roster is it right now?
7 total.
7 total players, and probably 2 to 3-ish starters that we would expect.
Yeah, I think
And tell me how you see that, how the backcourt / maybe the 3 look.
Yeah, I feel like right now the 3 starters they have are Jakari Lane, Duke Miles, and Mackenzie Mbako. And
where would they play? Is it a positionless guard play?
That's probably Jakari starting
at the 1
at point guard. Duke Miles could play the 2, maybe undersized as a 3, probably the 2.
Mbako the 3?
3 or 4.
Yeah.
And I think they're going to look to get guys who, I think this roster is going to have more size than A&M's seen in a while, which is, again, not a crazy thing to say because they were really only working with one guy over 6'9" last year. But they're going to have probably a true 6'10", 6'11" guy. There are players out there, one that they're trying to get in Federico from Texas Tech, who Auburn really wants, Ole Miss really wants, NC State really wants him. So they're in contact with him. I think that's a player who was really instrumental for Texas Tech and had a big game against A&M.
Yeah.
Had 7 points, 6 rebounds, 4 steals. He's a guy that is older. He played a couple years at junior college, went to Pitt, started for 2 years, and then was a key player for Texas Tech. I feel like he's a guy that could play that more traditional forward or center role as the 4 or the 5. And I think the options are truly limitless in terms of there are a lot of great bigs out there that A&M could play at the 4, play at the 5. That would free up Mbako to play the 3. And so kind of similar to what this team looked like last year with the roster versatility of a guy like Anderson Garcia being able to play multiple positions, you'll probably see that with a guy like Mbako.
I like the idea that, you were saying that look for a bigger team because I can't, I got a little bit tired of seeing 6'11" guys on 6'7" guys.
Yeah.
We saw that a lot.
Yeah, you did.
I'm one of those guys who think position basketball is a good thing because now maybe if you got a bunch of 6'8" guys, 6'9" guys that can all play on the perimeter and can play fast, okay, that's one thing. But that's not what we saw here. We saw a lot of mismatches, especially on defenses, and big teams gave them a lot of trouble. So I'd look forward to that if that indeed is the case. I know the kid from Kansas is a really tall kid, and Mbako is like 6'9", so definitely on the right path. I guess they probably need at least 2 more.
Yeah, definitely at least 2 more. Definitely looking for another starter in the front court. They may have that. Who knows when? But I think it's obviously you want everything, right?
Yep.
You're looking to replace an entire roster, so it's hard for me to say there's a position of need when every position is still a position of need.
So this is still an impossible question. We'll wrap it up here. But are they trending in the direction of a tournament-esque team? Impossible because they haven't filled out a roster. Right. But I feel like the guard play is enough to intrigue me to be like, okay, if they consider this kind of momentum across the starting five, we have a team that can compete at least.
Yeah, the recruiting battles that they're winning early on tells me that these are not going to be the only, wow, A&M got that guy kind of moments where they're winning these battles over really high-profile programs, but I still need to see just a couple more pieces before I can say that this team could make the tournament, because I don't want to put unrealistic expectations out there, especially not on any A&M sport after things that have transpired. But I do think that this current roster that they have, if they continue to build momentum in recruiting, I don't see why this team couldn't avoid being in the cellar in year one in the SEC. Because really, I don't anticipate the conference being or having another year where they're going to get almost everyone in. But to be a tournament team or on the bubble, you really
just in the conversation,
you
right?
really just don't finish in the bottom three. And the talent that they've brought in so far leads me to believe they're trending towards not being like a South Carolina last year or like a Missouri 2 years ago.
All right. Thank you, Luke. Great job, buddy. Daily Company is a family-owned licensed insurance business that offer HVAC, electrical, plumbing, generator services, and that's available 24/7. They're fantastic at what they do. There's thermostat repairs, refrigerant leaks, furnace failures, seasonal tune-ups. They'll do that through their HVAC. Plumbing, they have leak repairs, clogged drains, water heater installation, maintenance to keep pipes top shape. You've got the electrical wiring, the outlet repairs, the upgrades, all the safety and efficiency, and of course, repair maintenance of generators and installation. They serve College Station, they serve Houston, and they serve Austin. Upfront pricing with no surprises. Call them up. It's the Daily Company, 979-2060-2020, 979-260-2020, or go to godaily.com. That is GODAILEY.com to experience the daily difference. Let's talk a little Snaps clothing. David Nuño here, and I love wearing Snaps clothing everywhere. I've got the flannel on right now. You've seen me in the Tailgater collection with the A&M gear. It is fantastic. If you see me around town with my sons, Christian and Cruz, they've got a bunch of Snaps gear. When they have big games for Consol, they wear nice clothes, so they wear their Snap stuff. And I'm telling you, with baseball season here, let's all kind of go looking stylish and fit to the games there at Olsen wearing the Snaps clothing. As a reminder, they are the only official licensed Texas A&M Pearl Snaps maker out there. Their Tailgater collection is built for game day with breathable, moisture-wicking fabrics to keep you comfortable while you rep your Aggies in style. Now, whether you're watching the game from home or maybe you're in attendance, you're tailgating, whatever it may be, you got to make sure you head to snapsclothing.com to see everything they have to offer. It is fashionable, it is awesome, and you're going to love it. TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. The Go Hour coming to a close here, presented by the Warehouse at CC Creations. Obi, one thing that I don't understand.
Okay.
And I'm sure it's super simple, but I just don't. For instance, my kids play soccer, as you know.
Yes.
And they play club soccer. And they couldn't, in the middle of a season or at all, transfer to a different club until the season is over. Unless the clubs say, you know what, you can go. Okay? So we couldn't leave the Cha-Cha Club for the Baja Club. We just couldn't do it mid-season, or we could do it at the end of the year. Why can't we do that in college sports where there's just like one window and that's it?
Well, I think that's what they're working toward. But you put people, I don't know. Look, I don't think any business has ever been run as poorly
as college
athletics.
Yeah.
I mean, just look at again, we're going to put everything of our business in the hands of the government. They're going to make things better, right? When you have to go to the government to make things better, you're a lost cause.
Wait, are you saying that Elon needs to go work on the NCAA? Let's move on.
I bet you they'd find some, they need some Doge.
Sorry, we're moving on. That was my fault. I set up OB for that one. Put the hate mail towards David Nuño. OB, I'm excited about Duke Miles. They got a ways to go, but I'm intrigued at the direction they're going so far.
I'm very impressed at what Bucky's been able to do so far. Absolutely. Coming in with nothing and putting together what could be a competitive team. Again, I'm going to say anything more than a winning season, whatever that looks like, is probably unfair to expect. But the way they're going, who knows? Maybe he's going to make a big splash in his first year. I certainly hope so.
Thank you, OB. Coming up next, John Harris, followed by Julia Abell, Cooper Cathra, and Luca Santorum. Trisha Ford in studio. It's TexAgs Live. And we're back. TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. Let's go straight to the Buppy's Catering Hotline. The professor, my good friend, John Harris from the Houston Texans. He's there. So, man, how you been?
Tired.
Yeah, why?
I'm ready.
Yeah.
Well, this little thing called the draft, it's funny because everybody will see me like, man, this is your Christmas, right? This is your Christmas, right? I'm like, man, who the hell works 24/7, 365 on Christmas? The whole point of Christmas is like you get
all your football needs. Johnny, good morning.
Morning, David. How you doing? And open presents and eat a lot and sit on a couch and be old. Like, that's not me, man. I've been cramming for exams this weekend. That's what it is to me. It's a fun weekend, don't get me wrong, but it's definitely a lot of work. So, yeah, so I'm kind of rounding third and hopefully heading for home with a few things today that I'll put up at footballtakeover.com. I've put up a number of NFL draft team needs pages, and I'm editing about 10 of them today. They'll go up today. And beginning of tomorrow, finishing up, kind of just polishing up the rest of things, and then going to be ready for Thursday night.
What do you expect the Texans to do, Johnny? I mean, the feeling has always been offensive line, at least from afar. Like, that's something that they need to focus on during the draft. I don't know if that means the first round, but what do you feel?
Yeah, I mean, it feels offensive line. I mean, I don't think you make that move with Laramie Tunsil, releasing Shaq Mason, trading Kenyon Green, if you don't have a plan to completely renovate the entire house. So I feel like the renovation isn't quite complete. And I do think there's going to be a run on offensive linemen. I think people are going to wise up and go, we're not good enough in the trenches. There's so many teams when I'm doing team needs where I get the offensive line, I'm like, well, that's a high priority for them. Well, this is a high priority for them. So I think there could be a run on offensive lineman, which in turn, I think is going to push some guys down the board that maybe you don't expect. Maybe some receivers. Maybe one of the two tight ends gets pushed down, Colston Love and Tyler Warren, down to the Texans. I just think it has to be offense, David. I don't know that it absolutely has to be an offensive lineman. I think it is. And I think there are plenty of them that are close together enough that you don't feel like, oh, well, we got to take an offensive tackle or an offensive guard just because that's what everybody's telling us we should do. And that's where, this whole thing went. We're not going to take interior offensive lineman number 6 at number 25 just because that's the next one in line. I don't think they've put themselves in that position. I think if it turned out that the offensive linemen are all gone and they weren't able to make a deal up for any of them, I think they'd feel very good drafting a receiver right there at 25. And I'd be okay with that. And then you start thinking about, okay, what can we do in round 2 to move up to maybe get a guy we have a round 2 grade on? And, sitting at 58, maybe they package some of those picks from the Tunsil trade and move up to go get a lineman they like the value better there. So they haven't pigeonholed themselves into a corner, but I do think it is offensive line. I think the way the draft is kind of playing out or seems to play out, that there would be an offensive lineman to their liking, and they might force the issue too and go up and get a guy that they like. I've said all along that the two, Vontae Mack, no matter what's to me, or Matthew Golden and Tyler Booker. Part of that is because I didn't think Kelvin Banks would get them at 25, but it does sound like the Texans really like Kelvin Banks, and so I wouldn't be surprised they got aggressive and went up and got Banks, went up and got Booker. I just think those linemen are going to go probably a lot higher than maybe people think, a lot of the draft people think.
Talking to John Harris here on TexAgs Live. Let's go through the 3 Aggies. Shamar Stewart expected to be the first Aggie taken off the board. I saw Mel Kiper had him maybe going to the Packers. Not sure if that's a great fit or not, but they do have a propensity to draft Aggies. What do you think about Shamar, and is he middle to late first round?
Yeah, I think he's probably more late first, early second. To be honest, I think people are still having questions about that whole production thing, like trying to match up. Like, man, he's a really impressive athlete, but God, what about the production? I think people worry about that. And I think on that side of it, people are like, look, if you don't produce in college, how in the hell are you going to produce in the NFL? But I think it's really hard to turn away from an athlete of that caliber. And I don't totally buy into that lack of production. I mean, yeah, he didn't have a ton of sacks, but I do think that he was very productive, very disruptive. And I think that's going to matter. I think Green Bay would actually be a good spot for him. Green Bay really doesn't have a lot on the edges. They've got Rashawn Gary at one spot. Lucas Van Ness has done nothing. And it's funny because Texans fans didn't want to trade up for Will Anderson because they wanted to sit at number 12 and take Lucas Van Ness to go with CJ Stroud. I'm glad the Texans did what they did. But I think Shamar actually goes in and starts day one in Green Bay, if I'm being honest. unless the Packers went out and made some kind of deal for Trey Hendrickson or something like that, which I don't quite see at this point. But I think Green Bay would actually be a really nice spot, if I'm being honest, for him. I think Detroit is also a spot to keep in mind. You've got an Aggie leading that organization. So you would imagine Dan Campbell's going to have some info on Shamar that he's going to like. Aiden Hutchinson needs somebody on the other side. Look, when Aiden Hutchinson went down, the Lions didn't struggle at that point, but you could see it took its toll that they couldn't get to the quarterback. And so I could see the Lions looking at Shamar Stewart for sure. So to me, it's more kind of from that kind of 21, 22, the Packers are at 23 on into the early second round where I think Shamar's going to fall.
Talking to John Harris here.
I shouldn't say fall. I shouldn't say fall. Fall sounds bad. I mean, that's where I think he's going to land. I think that's probably a good spot for him too. Sorry about that.
And then Scourton and Turner?
I think Scourton goes in the early to mid-second. I think with Nick, I think there was so much talk about him going into the year, and I think he can be disruptive, but I think I wanted to see a little bit more at the pass game. I think he's going to set a really good edge, and I think he's going to end up being I think he's going to be a 4-down front heavy end that provides some in the run game. I don't know that it's as dynamic as what Shamar can bring, and so I think that probably puts him the beginning of the second to middle second. So I think it's going to be a Friday night for him. And I think Shamar Turner goes Friday night too. I really like Shamar. The more I watch him, the more I'm like, that dude plays with an edge. It's funny because that's the way my team is now. They play with an edge. You know, when guys get suspended because they hit too hard. They get suspended for other things. And I think Shamar kind of plays on that edge a little bit, but not in a bad way. I just think he's got a lot of energy that I think would be channeled here. The problem is for us, we have a lot of guys kind of built like him, but we don't have anybody that moves like him. So I think Shamar, to me, would be very interesting for the Texans at 58. But I think Nick and Shamar Turner, I think they both end up hearing their names on Friday night, probably in that second round.
Johnny, your thoughts on what the Cowboys need to do, especially after I read this morning a headline on Pro Football Talk. Stephen Jones thinks the Cowboys did a much better job of improving their roster this offseason. Last year was pretty dismal. So, yeah, I guess. What do you think about the Cowboys?
It's such an interesting organization, man. And I don't mean in a bad way. It just sometimes I look at some of the things they've done, and I'm like, I just shake my head. And then I look at some of the things they've done. I'm like, damn, that was a really good move. Boy, I like the way that's panning out for them. But I just feel like, I know there's been some talk about, Ashton Genty, he went to Lone Star there just outside of Frisco. And so maybe there's a thought about bringing him home. I think to be able to do that, the Cowboys have got to move up. I don't think Genty even gets beyond 8. I think it's a pipe dream if he gets to 12. And so I think they would like to have obviously a better running game. But the thing is, Rico Dowdell had over 1,000 yards last year. Rico wasn't bad. But I just think with Zach Martin retiring, they need some help on the interior. I think they could put somebody next to Odigizua. Mozzie Smith has not been that guy. So I think they could really help the interior trenches for sure. They lost Marcus Lawrence, but I think Marshawn Nealon can end up being a player. So I don't worry about that totally. But I think their secondary's got to get better too. Having Deron Bland healthy the whole year is going to help. But, is Diggs healthy? Is he not? So I do think they also need some speed at wide receiver. That's why I think Matthew Golden would be a great spot for them at number 12. But I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how they go about things because I think, when you think about some of the best picks the Cowboys have made, Zach Martin is right up there. Well, Jerry wanted to take Johnny Manziel. Maybe Jerry wants to go up and get Ashton Genty, but Steven and the rest of them, Will McClay, are saying, "Hey, look, we consider a 12 get Matthew Golden. He'll give us as much value at maybe a position of a bigger need for us." So I do think that the Cowboys have I think they have some good options at 12. Hell, they could even be in the Kevin Banks sweepstakes, if you will. Take him, play him at left tackle, move Guyton to guard. I don't know. But you just draft a really good football player and you figure it out. So I think Golden would be a really good fit because he would balance out CeeDee Lamb. I know there's a lot of talk about T-Mac. I love Tetairoa McMillan from Arizona. I love him. But they need some speed. And whereas T-Mac is faster than people think, he's not like Golden. I think Golden's got to open some things up for himself and open some things up for the offense, but also with that speed, he opens things up for CD. So, but I like where the Cowboys are at number 12. I really do. I think they've got some good options to make some good decisions.
All right, give me your 3-4 best quarterbacks in this draft. Not where they're going to be drafted, but like if you were to rank, I got Cam here, I got Shadur here, I got Jackson here, ballpark-ish, where you got your top 3 or 4 quarterbacks.
Well, Cam's going 1, and he's QB1, no doubt. My QB2 is Jackson Dart, and the more I've thought about these quarterbacks a lot, and there have been years where I really liked the quarterbacks. Like last year, I really liked the quarterbacks. Bo Nix, I was kind of like, I don't really, but all right, I can see it. I just don't see it with these quarterbacks. And so, but to me, I think Jackson Dart is going to end up getting some love in the back end of the first round, probably. I don't think. I mean, Shador is so hit and miss, and you just don't know which team is a hit and which team is a miss. But I'll tell you this: for the teams that like Shador, they love him. The teams that don't like Shador hate him. It's that polarizing, and I think it's going to be fascinating to watch play out. I have no idea where the fit is going to be. A lot of people talked about kind of a double dip with Travis at number 2 to Cleveland, and then Cleveland kind of makes a move to get back up, or maybe sit there in the second round and take Shador. I mean, that's on them. I don't know if that's what I would do. I think Jalen Milroe becomes a very interesting wild card in all this, because I don't think Jalen Milroe is a great quarterback right now, but he's one hell of a playmaker. And there are a lot of teams that can use just playmaking skills. So to me, Milroe is going to end up being one that I would keep my eyes on, because he's everything that Shador is not. He's athletic. He can move. Now, he can't throw with the accuracy and pinpoint touch and all that like Shador can, but everything from a character standpoint, teammate standpoint, Jalen Milroe is that. And I think Jalen will get better and better taking hard coaching as he gets to the league, and that's going to make him better. To me, Jalen Milroe and kind of Jalen Hurts, like the track that Jalen Hurts took, I think is one that Jalen Milroe can take and end up being a solid quarterback. He's not there. I think Jalen Hurts was probably a little bit better of a quarterback than Milroe is when Hurts was coming out of Oklahoma and Milroe was coming out of Alabama. But I think Milroe is that much more of a dynamic athlete and athletic with the ball in his hands. And he's not scared of that. He doesn't run away from that. Like, he's totally fine with, hey, whatever I got to do to win. If I got to run, I run. If I throw, I throw. But Jalen Milroe has really got to work on the interior. So I think Milroe, there's some talk about the Giants. That would make some sense. I could absolutely see that. But there's going to be a wild card team, David. Like last year, remember Penix going to the Falcons? Yeah. Only Jonathan Jones from CBS Sports saw that coming. And now you look at it and go, that was genius. Because none of these quarterbacks, the Falcons sitting at 15, they would have been sitting at 15 with Kirk Cousins. They would have had no opportunity to get any of these quarterbacks. None. And they'd be with an aging Achilles heel torn Kirk Cousins leading their team. And so the Falcons crushed it with that Penix pick last year. So there's going to be a team that we don't see coming that you go, And Seattle might be a team I would keep an eye on. They got Sam Darnold, but we know the history of Sam Darnold. It's not always been great. It was great last year for the most part. So I think Seattle might be a team at 18 that would be kind of interesting for a quarterback that you might not see coming.
Johnny, this came up in the first segment, and I might have just been talking that, or the second segment. I might have just been completely uneducated on it, but I feel like KJ Jefferson a couple years ago was one of those quarterbacks that was talked about being one of the elite quarterbacks had he come out of that year. I think it was 2 years ago. Then he had a down year-ish with Bobby Petrino, then the UCF year. How has his NFL projections changed? Am I wrong, or was he considered even a higher prospect a couple years back?
I think there was a lot of intrigue about him. I think there was a lot of intrigue about his size and, what, kind of arm strength he had and all that. But I think over the last 2 years, it just, at Arkansas, and I think this goes to quarterbacks that do run the ball a lot, it takes a toll. I mean, it really does. I mean, if you think about running power read, for example, and you're running between the B gap, I mean, you're getting hammered by big linemen, getting bounced by your own linemen, getting hit by linebackers, safeties are taking shots at you. And then all of a sudden, the next play, you got to throw play action. And you're like, damn, I just got hit on my right arm because they're trying to knock the ball out. I got nothing to throw. So I think some of that took its toll with KJ. He went to UCF. It ended up not being a great fit, and he was replaced about halfway through the year, banged up. So I think all that kind of played a role, and just the NFL part of his game just never really developed. And I think that can happen for guys. They have the size, they have the arm strength, but just the game doesn't develop for them. And I think that KJ kind of got caught in that.
I don't expect that you watched all the A&M spring game or have any hot sports takes from it, because they're just spring games, right? We know that. Yeah. But Marco Jones, and the stats shows up, he had 5 sacks in the game, and they're not the same as SEC caliber game sacks. I understand that. But have you watched any of Marco Jones? Have you seen any of his info? Because he's a guy that reports out of camp have been that he could be a guy that you see quite a bit of as a freshman this upcoming season.
Yeah, I'll be honest, David, I have not seen him. But look at Dylan Stewart last year from South Carolina. I mean, he was a guy, I don't want to say came out of nowhere, but I remember seeing a highlight pop up on social media, and I was like, oh my God, that dude's got he's got the most twitch I've seen at a defensive lineman in a long time. Like, holy smokes. So, I mean, I love those kind of things. I mean, you alerted me to Marco Jones, so now I'm gonna be paying attention to a guy, and especially for a defensive line that's going to lose 3 potential day 1, day 2 picks. They got to get it from somewhere, and you can't get it all from the transfer portal. So it's going to be interesting to see what and how that A&M defense looks. But I think once, with Elko kind of, running the show, I know he's not the defensive coordinator, but just I think there's going to be a certain, and it's kind of like us with the Texans now, there's a certain kind of guy we're looking for. And I think A&M is going to have a certain kind of defensive athlete they're looking for, especially in the front. Now, you're in the SEC, you're all kind of looking for, somewhat similar guys. But I think A&M is going to hit, on a few of those guys. And they've always been able to. I mean, you think about just the edge rushers and pass rushers and defensive linemen they've had over the years. And this group that they have this year is a pretty good kind of cross-section of that with the 2 Shamars and Nick. So I'm anxious and excited to kind of dive into some of more of my college work after this draft is over. And Marco Jones will definitely be a name I look at.
Hey, one more A&M thing for you. Have you, and again, I'm asking you questions just because I know you watch so much football, but Cassius Howell is a guy that's made a name for himself at the end of last season, was really good at Bowling Green, kind of took a little time to get going with the Ags. But he's a name that I keep hearing intriguing things about because he finished so strong and he's continuing that. When you watch him, what do you see?
Yeah. I think he's, it's funny when we were talking about the defensive line, that was the name that came to mind. And I like watching him play. It's funny because at the end of the year, I'm like, oh man, 18. Ooh, Cassius Howell. Okay, make a note. So I carry I have a doc on my phone. I keep my phone with me, during games on Saturdays. And I make sure that when I'm just watching a game, not that I'm sitting there rewinding and studying a prospect or whatever, that I'm actually watching a game and I'm hearing broadcasters talk or I see something, I want to make a note. I've gotten too old to remember all of them. So I take my phone and I write it down. That's what I did with Nick Scarton. When he was at Purdue, I was watching Purdue-Fresno State back in 2023. And I'm like, damn, this dude they can't block 5. Holy smokes. So I wrote his name down. Little did I know, I didn't know he was from Bryan College Station. I just wrote his name down. I'll go look at it later, but I just want to make sure I kept the mental note. I did that with Cassius late in the season. I think it was maybe the LSU game. I think that was when it was. And I'm like, dang, he's all over the place. I like his athleticism. He moves very freely, very agile. I like his twitch. He's going to be a really interesting pass rusher in the future. Wrote his name down, and he's definitely a guy that I'm keeping tabs on because I think he's got what NFL execs look at on the edge. And I'm very curious to see how he evolves this year. Now that he'll probably have, 50, 60, 70% more reps even than he got last year. And I think kind of like with Marcel Reed, last year, Marcel gets an LSU game and then kind of takes over from there. I think Cassius with Nick and the 2 Shamars and, guys that may have been in front of Cassius, and Cassius now, not that he's got the spotlight to himself, but I think it's more, okay, we're relying on you more this year. You have that responsibility. It's now time to play like the NFL prospect you can be. I think I think it's going to be really interesting with Cassius, how he develops, because if he develops the way that I think he can, I think he can be a top 50 pick in the draft. Now it's a bit early, but I think that's the kind of athleticism that I see from him. I'm really excited about what he brings.
Johnny, I appreciate it, man. Love you. Talk to you soon, bro.
All right, man. See you, bud. Thank you.
My guy, John Harris, on the Buppy's Catering Hotline. We'll hit a break. We'll come back, a little track and field report. Looking forward to that. Right now, Milliken Reserve, they're a farm-to-table community in College Station. They got homes, they got trails, they got farms, they got wide open spaces, and they have a mission to build a healthy community around nature. And they've done so by creating this open space of just awesomeness. 2,600 acres of open space and farms, 30 miles of trails. They have an extensive network of trails throughout a wooded landscape that includes walking and equestrian paths, creeks and ponds and gathering areas. They're committed to maintaining and restoring that natural habitat. When you go there, you're going to love it. You're going to be outdoors, hiking, biking, canoeing, fishing, you name it. You can do it all there at Milliken Reserve. And it's a place you don't have to live. You can just go visit and hang out with your family, connect with your family in nature, or you can buy some real estate there. They have awesome neighborhoods. You've got to check it out. The website, millikenreserve.com. Again, that website, millikenreserve.com. All right, we're back here on TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studios. Time for our weekly track and field conversation, brought to you by the Brazos Running Company, your local Aggie-owned specialty running store, where you can find Brooks on and Hoka, located at the Century Square, below Star Cinema Grill in College Station. Julia Abel's in the house, assistant coach for track and field. It's been a few months.
Yes.
It's been a minute. How are you?
Good. Yeah, things are awesome. Watching people like these two run, it's been a really good season.
Cooper Cathra and Luca Santorum with us. Hello, friends. How are you?
Good.
So, your first time to do the show.
Yeah.
Cooper, I thought you had done it before, but no.
No, sir.
But both of your names are on this show quite often. So, Julia, I'll start with you. Just let's talk about where we are in the season and how things are going.
Yeah, we're a few meets into the outdoor season, and it's gone by really fast. I don't know about if they think so, but I feel like we build through cross country, indoor, outdoor, and indoor always goes really fast because it's only a couple months. It's not a very long season, and our whole goal during indoor on our team is to prep for outdoor. So now we moved outside for track. We believe that track belongs outdoors. So we're finally outside, but it seems like even this has flown by. We are just a few weeks out from conference, and then regionals will be 2 weeks after that, and the nationals 2 weeks after that. So we have pen relays that they'll leave for tomorrow. We have a home meet, a weekend off, and then conference. So it's going by really fast. They've taken full advantage of the season so far. It's been really exciting.
So for both of you, and I'll start off with Cooper, just how did the indoor season help you personally prepare for this outdoor season?
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing is just momentum and kind of, I guess, confidence. Just seeing what not only myself, but more importantly, what the team was capable of doing for the indoor season was just awesome. I mean, to win SECs at home was amazing. And we believe that we're an outdoor team anyways, so to have such success on the indoor track just makes me really excited for what we can do outdoor.
All up on that, Luca, because I think it's true. Like Coach Henry always talks about using the indoor season to prepare you for the outdoor, and you guys won the indoor SECs.
I think the indoor season helped to build a very good relationship, especially between our team of the DMR. We won SEC, we got fourth at nationals, and we were very together, strong, and now we want to go outdoor, do 1 50, 100 SEC, and do the best at NCAAs.
So let's talk about this past week in Oregon. What'd you think?
I thought it was awesome. It was. Our sport has kind of gone away from team-scored meets. And when I was a freshman, I think, Cooper, you said even your freshman year, we scored our indoor meets. And we've kind of gotten away from that. People seem to not really want to know where they're at mid-year. They kind of want to wait till conference when they have everybody in the meet. Well, we love scored meets. We think you should score all of the meets. It kind of helps somebody that doesn't really know track very well. If somebody goes, oh, how'd the meet go? You're like, well, there were some PRs. Well, did you win? I don't know. Did we? I don't know. And so our staff believes that it's important to score it because that way somebody off the streets can go, how'd the meet go? We can go, we won or we got second. And so it just helps relate our sport to the general public. And so Coach Henry and the Oregon coach got together and developed this team scored meet mid-season. And it was awesome. There was 5 men's teams, 7 women's teams. Our women won. Our men got second. But and we don't like getting second, but at least, hey, we knew where we were that weekend. Is that where we were? Is that where we are? No. But that's where we were that day. And that's, for good or bad, that's good to at least see and be able to relate it to the general public. So it was awesome. It was cool. We had 2 people from each team in every single event. We even had, Jack Mann, pole vaulter, he was high jumping because we needed a high jumper. Sasha, one of our pole vaulters, threw the shot and disc. It was so cool seeing people step up in different ways, going, the team needs me. I can go score a point in the high jump. I've high jumped years ago. I'll give it a go again if the team needs me. When Luca said the team got really close together in indoor, I think that's what played a huge role in this happening in outdoor so far, is because people are, wherever the team needs me, we're building off of indoor. Whatever the team needs me to do for outdoor, however that happens. So it was a really cool meet. You were invested in every single event because we were competing. We were competing for a team score, and so it was awesome. You could just tell the energy and excitement in the stadium because it was scored. Cooper,
how'd you feel you did on that day? You had in your 1500 a 3:39.34.
I think I obviously would have loved to win, but I think I learned a lot from that race. I'll be racing most of those guys again at regionals, so I know what I need to do. I know what I need to fix to do better and to make it out of the regional meet. And I was just talking with Coach McRaven and Coach Abell yesterday, and we were just joking like, at least it wasn't like an SEC championship. But to see Luca win, my teammate win, was awesome. He got to throw some celebrations around, which was funny to see. But if I'm not winning, I'm glad someone in the A&M is winning.
Well, Luca, let's talk about you. Personal best, 3:38.91, ranked second all-time in A&M history. How did that performance feel?
So it was like a very tactical race, and in those type of race, you have to be like patient, because like if you start too early, then you're gonna be like tired. You're gonna be like tired in the end, and like I would be patient until like 150 to go, and I start to kick, and I had the like very good attitude, because like I didn't have like any left, but like I wanted to win so bad. And I think leave home, especially like from Italy, come all the other part of the world here, helped me to build that attitude, you know, because it was like very strong finish, and like I was there, I wanted to win so bad.
Yeah, well, it was an awesome performance. Let's close out with the Penn Relays. Just some thoughts heading into it, Julia.
Yes, I'll be heading with a smaller crew to Rice, so I won't actually be able to watch these guys live. But I am so excited. The Penn Relays is just, it's not team scored, but it kind of feels a little bit more like that because they have the Championships of America relays. Mm-hmm. It's a huge relay meet, so these guys are going to be on a couple different relays. If you win one of those, you get to bring home a giant wheel. Our hallway upstairs is filled with these wheels, so it's always fun for our team to go to Penn Relays.
And both of you, your thoughts heading there to the Penn Relays? Luca, you want to start us off?
Yeah, now we have a very strong team in the middle distance. So me and Cooper and the other guys, we go to win 2 relays. We want to win 4x8 and distance middle relay.
Mm-hmm. So in the DMR, we're bringing back the same exact national squad that we had that set the school record, 917. So I think I think we're ranked 3rd going into the meet. I think we have a really good shot to win that one. That'll be super exciting. And then the 4x8, I think, will be the one that everyone's we have a target on our back. Mm-hmm. We won it last year, but this year I think we're even stronger. We have 5 guys under 148. So I just think we have middle distance depth that a lot of teams in the country may not necessarily have. And if they do, it'll be fun to put on a show for everyone.
Thank you all. Good luck. Appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you.
When we come back here on TexAgs Live, Trisha Ford will be in studio. Kay Nagley will join me for that. We'll talk a little Aggie softball. But right now, a moment for Caldwell Country Chevrolet. They're on Highway 21 in Caldwell and online at caldwellcountrychevrolet.com. They have an amazing selection of vehicles. When you step on the lot and you see what they have, you're going to be blown away by their customer service. But you can start that search online at caldwellcountrychevrolet.com. See what they have, see the pricing, and I guarantee you'll be blown away by not only the pricing, but the trade-in value that you get when you go to Caldwell Country Chevrolet. And of course, that amazing customer service that they provide. A complimentary pickup and delivery for their service customers, free oil changes for life as long as you own that vehicle from Caldwell Country Chevrolet. And again, it's about the pricing and the experience when you go there. It's about a 15-minute drive, the edge of Bryan to the beginnings of Caldwell. A short conversation away, but you'll see the difference when you step on the lot and do business with the great people at Caldwell Country Chevrolet. Highway 21 in Caldwell, online, caldwellcountrychevrolet.com. All right, we're back on TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. Softball talk. Got Trisha Ford in studio. Kay Nagley joining me for that. Coach Ford, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I think I just told you a minute ago. I'll tell the audience. My show's been really fun recently. All right, my teams are doing really well. You guys are kicking tail, and baseball's doing great. Track and field's great. Women's tennis, men's, everybody, right? So It's been a good time. How about the way your team responded yesterday against Louisiana after the unfortunate finish against Missouri?
Yeah, I think it was huge for us. I think, obviously Mizzou, that game, we got our butts handed to us. And so it was important for us to bounce back and just play our type of ball. I thought Grace did a good job, and we brought in Lessentine, and then obviously Lefty came in and finished. But some long balls showed up last night, so the pitching coach is always excited to see those. But overall, it was a good bounce back.
I want to talk about Thursday's doubleheader against Missouri. Both of those in comeback fashion, if you will. Just what about the resiliency of your group to be able to get it done?
Yeah, I mean, huge. I loved that. I wish we wouldn't always rely on it, but it is what it is. And I think great teams find ways to win ball games. And Mizzou is playing, with their backs on the wall. They have nothing to lose, and they're a really good team, to be honest with you. And I thought we just did a great job of coming out. Some things didn't go our way, and then figuring out ways to win ball games. At the end of the day, you have to figure out how to get one more run than the other team, and we did do that. So, I think we learned a little bit on Friday that sometimes we can't always come back, and that's always a good lesson as well. But very happy with obviously getting a series win. The Aggies, we haven't done really well at Mizzou, so it was good to set a different precedent.
Let's talk about Emily Kennedy. We talk about her every week for good reason. But yesterday, the Athletes Unlimited golden ticket. How cool that just to know that we called it in the first segment like a lottery pick, if you will. But what she means to you, what she means to this program, and what she still means for the rest of the season. Yeah, I mean, she's, I could talk about her for hours, but her growth, taking this team on her shoulder. I've talked a lot about her and Coco Woolley this last week of just two kids that committed to A&M and wanted to elevate this program and bring it, to the top of the softball world, and they've done that. And Lefty has been huge with that. She's been, an integral part of this, and just continues to get better. And I think she's starting to feel good, and we're heading into the right part of the season for her to be hot.
You're heading into a tough part, this last stretch of SEC play. If you could just provide an injury update on your squad. I know Peters has been dealing with a little bit, and then what the catcher position will look like. Yeah, I think, Peters we're progressing well. So, she's still listed as day-to-day, but we're moving our arm around, starting to do some more things. So I feel good about that. Unfortunately, we lost Ojo for the rest of the year. My heart kind of breaks because it's senior weekend. That kid has been just huge for our program, the glue of our team, and I know she'll continue to do that, but you never want to see a kid like that, get hurt right before, the end of season. Mm-hmm. Let's talk about KK and just the ability, I forget how you phrase it, but situational awareness, like just knowing what to do at that moment. Yeah, I mean, I keep telling her if she just keeps hitting the ball over the fence, like she could do that at any point in time. Yeah, great situational hitting. She's just, she's getting her ace swings off, which is huge. And I know that sounds really simple, but it's hard, to identify a pitch, get your ace swing off. Yesterday, I think she hit the top of the pillar of the scoreboard. And for a little thing, man, that kid's wired well. She's connected. I would say her kinetic chain is really good. And we just need her to keep doing what she's doing, staying calm in the box, getting runners, moving them over, hitting balls in the air to score them. I mean, just doing those things. And that part of our lineup has been huge. Mac and Maya, the reason why we moved Coco down to that 5-hole was to give her some RBI opportunities, but also the team needed it because we needed somebody like her that's really dynamic to protect her. And then obviously getting Allie and KK doing what they're doing, it's been huge. I want to talk about moving Coco down. Just how do you think KP has been in that leadoff spot, and then Coco being down, just how much more length does that give your lineup? Yeah, I think it's made our lineup more of a nightmare, to be honest with you. I think teams... Coco, it just adds such a unique dynamic. She can short game. She can beat out a ground ball to second base. Like, think about that.
She's beaten out ground balls to pitchers. She can hit the ball over the fence, to the fence. And KP, I think, that leadoff role is really her natural position. She can bunt. She put down a beautiful bunt yesterday. So just all of those pieces, I think we finally have found where everybody fits, and now it's just getting that rolling a little bit more.
What has Arkansas done to kind of, they've always been good in the SEC. You're going to have your ups and downs, but they did struggle to start conference play.
Yeah, and then now they're not.
Yeah, timing. Thanks. Thanks, SEC.
Yeah, exactly. I think, for them, they had just some youth. They have a lot of youth, and so they were, too, trying to figure out, how that's all going to fit. I think their pitching staff has settled down, and they're very similar to us. They do a lot of things good, right? But nothing really stands out. They have Bree Ellis, who obviously is having a heck of a year. They have a kid, Courtney Day, that played at Texas that could obviously make the ball. She could do some damage in the box. So I think they have those pieces, and we're just going to have to play really good defense. We're going to have to pitch well, and then gets that timely hit.
Yeah.
I know it's senior day coming up. I know you don't like the emotions of it all, and obviously Coco and Emily have meant so much to this group. Just speak to them, and also some of these transfers that have come in.
Yeah, Coco and Em are the foundation of where Texas A&M is today. They've been huge. They've both just elevated this program. I talk about Rylan and Trin and what they did for us as well. I just think we are not here today without them. But then you also, talk about Allie Enright and Kramer Eschte, and, there's a lot. But I think all of those pieces are what has helped us really grow this program in 3 short years. And so it's going to be an emotional day, I know, but our season's not over. And they've worked their tails off for it not to be over. And so I want us to come out and really have an excitement about it, of we get to come out here and really put on display another day of Aggie softball.
So you've got senior day, you've got a top 10 showdown, you've got a game in Austin going on the other side of the diamond. Just what a crazy, awesome weekend for Aggie sports.
It is going to be wild. So I wish Coach Early and the boys immense amount of luck, and go out there and kick some tail.
I want to talk about just completing the non-conference slate. Went 27-2. Is that what you would have expected out of your group?
Yeah, you hope for that, honestly. Louisiana was a little tricky to me. It's the last midweek of the year. They're really good. They're scrappy, right? They do a lot of short game. They bunt. They run the bases well. They just do a lot of things. They're just like their head coach, Allie. And I think I was interested to see after the Mizzou series how we finished, what yesterday was going to look like. And I was pleased that we came out and focused up and did, what we should have done.
How do you think the team, because I know how you prepare, but how do you think young players in today's world go through this storm? That it is a super regional every weekend in SEC play, as you mentioned, and then you still got the SEC tournament. There's so many different, you're towards the end, but you have a full season ahead of you still too.
Yeah, and I think the other thing is they're also balancing that academic piece,
right.
And so we're getting ready for finals, so all the projects are due and those types of things. But the reason why a lot of, Fortune, 500 companies hire athletes is because they can wear through all of this. They understand how to manage their time. They understand the importance of recovery and sleep, and that's, what we really, I've talked to them in a lot of detail the last couple of days of just the importance of recovery and sleep and getting your things organized.
They get it?
I hope they do.
Yeah.
I think as they get older, they do.
Mm-hmm.
But the other thing is iron sharpens iron. We talk about that all the time, and we've played all of these super regional type series for every weekend in the SEC. So when we get to that point, we know how to do it, how to execute it. And what it's going to take in order for us to keep going.
Let me follow up with that, because I think also the iron sharpens iron for the way your star players work, right? Because if your star players don't care about their sleep, if your star players aren't doing the extra work in the cage, then it's easier for the others. But when you have buy-in from the top, it trickles down.
It's huge, yeah. And I was talking to Coco, I think last week, or maybe it all blends together, but she's like, I'm coming in, I'm doing some extra work, and I know Griff goes in with her, and what they do is it's not just you going in, you have to bring your team, right? And so I think they've done a much better job of understanding the importance of bringing their teammates in. Allie Enright, She does so many things from us from a leadership standpoint that people just don't see, that I see, that's just been huge and really why I think we've shifted where we are today.
Arkansas's offense is led by Bree Ellis. You said it. She's hitting .490 right now. Also, SC Co-Player of the Week with Coco was Kaylee Wyckoff. Actually went to high school with her, so she's been a good player for a long time.
Yeah.
Just what do you expect to see out of that offense coming?
Yeah, we're going to have to, Bree can't beat us. I mean, that's going to be the bottom line. She's, from the state of Texas. They have a lot of Texas kids. We go recruiting against them and LSU quite a bit. So it's a big weekend for a multitude of reasons. But I think for us is we just got to go out and play our game. We are where we're at in the rankings because they've earned it. And obviously Arkansas is a great team, but so are we. And so we got to pitch well. I think it's going to begin and end there. And then I think there's some things offensively that we can take advantage of.
Trisha, good luck. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Appreciate you. All right, we'll hit a break. We'll have a short segment on the other side. Right now, TexAgs is hosting a kickball tournament May 7th at Bee Creek from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. Grab your team of 8 to 10 players to join. It's a fun, active event open to all skill levels and a great opportunity to enjoy friendly competition. Plus, participants have a chance to win prizes from Yeti, Academy, Turtle Box, Top Golf, and much, much more. To register your team and get more information, head to TexAgs.com. That's May 7th, Bee Creek Park, 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. It is the TexAgs Kickball Tournament.
What's up, TexAgs? This commercial break is brought to you by my good friends over at Aggieland Chevrolet, the official automotive sponsor of TexAgs.com and me, Billy Lucci. Greg Gunn is the proud owner of Aggieland Chevrolet and invites you to visit the dealership to experience true Aggie hospitality. From their friendly staff to the experienced service team, Aggieland Chevrolet is TexAgs approved. Check out the dealership off of Highway 6 in Bryan or go to AggielandChevrolet.com and tell them Billy Lucci sent you by. And we are back.
It is TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. Let's go to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. I believe Kaylee Dreyer's still working. It's been like 8 hours since I've spoken to her. Kaylee, do we have any good comments to share today?
We have one comment from Damien, and he says, wide receivers are probably the most improved position along with the O-line. What are your thoughts?
I don't know if I put O-line as the most improved position because I think they were pretty darn good last year. Now, do they have room to grow? Absolutely. Cohesion, yes. But I guess when I think of room to grow, I think of it as like an area that maybe was lacking a little bit that needs to step up. So yes, offensive line will, but they were pretty good last year. You get that level of offensive line and take the natural step up of a couple years together. Yes, agree. Wide receiver, I think you have more playmakers than you had before. As we've said many times on this show, it'd be nice to have a big body there. Maybe it becomes Jerome Miles, but I'm not going to, I try not to expect too much from freshmen, right? But you get a big body. But when we're talking about separation and speed, yes, that is an area of improvement. And I hope the secondary is a huge level improvement, right? Des Ricks takes a big step. Will Lee's already solid. Julian Humphreys coming on board. Dalton Brooks, like the whole defensive backs, that's got to be better this year. And if we can say the wide receiver group and if we could say the quarterback position, right? Like, let's say God forbid we have a quarterback for 12 games. Good gosh. All right. Let a break. When we come back, we'll do recruiting country. Right now, we're talking Bird Dog. They want to maximize your ranch's potential, and they are revolutionizing ranch management with Honey Access. They're an Aggie-owned company that creates access to hunters and also premium honey experiences. And if you have a ranch, they'll unlock that hidden value in your property. Clients are earning an extra $100 to $500 per acre. And you have expert navigation of agriculture exemption, 60-plus premium hunting properties. They are the very best. You want to check it out. Your ranch represents your legacy. Check out birddogit.com to maximize its potential while preserving that hunting tradition. birddogit.com. And we are back. It is TexAgs Live. Is my mic on? All right, good. Just making sure. I thought there was a little hesitation there. We are going to do Recruiting Country now, brought to you by American Momentum Bank. American Momentum Bank is the only privately owned bank headquartered in Bryan, College Station, and they are committed to helping our community prosper by offering a wide array of personal and business banking solutions specifically designed to help build financial success with confidence and momentum on your side. Let's go to the Buppy's Catering Hotline. Jay Howell in the house. Jason Howell, what's up, buddy?
Oh, you know it, man. Making the rounds. We're hitting spring practices. I've got one right after this. I got to head out to Arlington Lamar, check in on a little 2027 linebacker, Braylon Williams. That's way up high on Texas A&M's want list for that 27 class. So
tell me more.
Do what?
Tell me more about this kid.
Yeah, he's one of the top linebackers in the state. I think he's average, or he's had over 100 tackles the last 2 seasons. So freshman and sophomore year, went over 100 tackles. He's when it comes to linebacker play, he's one of the best off the ball backers you'll find in Texas high school football. Very instinctive. He has cover ability. He's one of the better one. We've got him down our list a little bit, and that's going to change next time we update the rankings. But he's one of the better true linebackers in the state of Texas since as a prospect since. Wow, it's been a few years for sure. Maybe since Perkins.
Talking to Jason Howell here on TexAgs Live. All right, let's go over some of the weekend news that we got, Jason. And where do we start off? Let's start off with Victor Singleton, the cornerback, the 2026. Let's start with him.
Yeah, the 11th commitment in the 26 class, 6 foot, 165, 170 pounds. He's part of one of the top defenses in the state of Ohio. They were Division III state finalists this last year at Central Catholic, and they were 2-time state champion. He was named co-defensive player of the year in the state. 4 interceptions, really sticky cornerback prospect, long, lean, twitchy. He's got tremendous hips and change of direction. And you see him come up when he sees that ball, he breaks and it's game on, man. He's going for the pick. He's going for the steal. So he flipped from Illinois. But this is a guy that A&M's been on for a while. They made us top 5 in January. With Illinois, Ohio State, Michigan, and Oregon, and he visited a couple times this spring. So I think he was at one of the first practices in March, and then of course this last weekend he was back in town, and he brings a lot to the table. I want to say Bronny did a good job comparing him to TK Norman. Very similar athletic background and build, like Norman. Victor Singleton is a jumper on the track. He's a long jump champion, claimed the state title with a 23 last spring. So he brings that multi-sport competitiveness to the table that you love to see when you're putting a guy out there on an island at cornerback.
Yeah, I'm excited to see his growth. And then the wide receiver over the weekend, the 27, George, is it Lamons?
Yes. Out of Brooks County. And he's really intriguing because he is so young. He's a first 27 commit, 6'4", 215 pounds. Texas A&M offered him in February, and he visited at the end of January or early February, right before that dead period started there. And then he made multiple trips this spring, but 62 receptions, over 1,300 yards and 20 touchdowns as a sophomore. So you're talking about 20 yards a reception. This guy is a big physical threat on the outside. He brings some versatility. Holman Wiggins has been leading those recruiting efforts there. And, with that size, you go, what, he could maybe be a flex tight end or whatever, but you see them utilize those kind of weapons in multiple ways, and you're going to see a guy like him on the outside as well as on the inside, and be a mismatch kind of guy in the receiving game.
Jason, the 26th class, 11 commits, 6 states. Just talk about the national approach, but still really trying to prioritize what's close to home.
Yeah, well, those 11 commits, that's the most in the NIL December signing period era. And I got to say, it probably goes, I didn't have time to do all the math, and I didn't have the stats all in front of me, but it's got to be the most they've had since early Sumlin, Manziel, Mania years. So, but yeah, they've done a really good job of hitting on high-end prospects. Every one of these guys is rated a 4-star prospect by at least one of the recruiting services. You've hit at quarterback, you've hit at running back, you got 3 receivers. The only position you really haven't hit, you don't have a safety yet, and you haven't hit on an offensive lineman. So going into this spring evaluation contact period, you do have some needs. You also have some flexibility. You're not stacked with, at any one position. You have room for growth, and there's one of the I've got needs down and I've got concerns. Right, I've got offensive line and defensive back. Probably the 2 biggest needs yet to really be addressed. Victor Singleton coming on this last weekend at cornerback, helped out at defensive back, and then you've got a lot of people, and for there's valid concerns there. Not enough Texas, so you want you got to take care of home. But what they do have are a lot of really interesting possible answers for both of those. And I think offensive line has a chance to really fill out nicely over the course of the next couple months and into summer with the June official visits with a lot of Texas. You're sitting nicely with John Turntine, who told me that A&M, Michigan, and Texas are the 3 that stand out in his mind right now. Zayden Crimpin has Texas A&M high on his mind as he heads into his official visit process. And, A&M gets that official visit after a really strong unofficial this spring. Drew Evers has always had A&M high on his list. And I know that the coaching staff, Coach Cushing and Coach Elko, have done a really good job letting him know how much they want him. Toa Katoa out of Euless Trinity, Avery Morco, another couple guys. All of them have official visits set up for June and are going to be guys to watch in that offensive line class. At DB, man, you've got a national list of safeties led by guys like Braylon Womack and Jet Washington, who is just in town. You've got guys who made multiple visits. Tylen Wilson out of Pascagoula, Mississippi. He visited, I want to say, at least a couple times during the season and was back in the spring. So you've got some guys, Jaira Edwards. After looking really great there for a bit, it seems like that temperature's kind of cooled, and he's looking more in other directions now. But A&M has a lot of really good options at safety and at cornerback. You're talking about Jordan Thomas, Dorian Barney, Brandon Arrington. You've got some really intriguing national options there in the secondary to go along with a Victor Singleton that could be a lot of fun to see how that fills out.
Well, and then when you look at the totality of the 26th class, and obviously there's a long time before they have to make it official, but there's been several of these high-level prospects that have given you multiple visits. And I feel like we're seeing with Buckyball, Coach Elko's closing rate has been excellent when you get guys on campus multiple times.
Yeah, I mean, you look back at this spring, and you see the spring practice visitors. You had Jonathan Hatton, Mike Brown, the commits. You had several commits make return visits. Storm Miller is coming back this week with his mother, so that'll be fun. I know that was a big one. She couldn't make it for his first visit, and he really is excited to get her around the coaches and let her see what he saw. And I know that'll be fun for him to get back in the College Station. But Victor Singleton, one of those guys that visited quite often. And this spring, you look at Lamar Brown. I want to say he had 3 visits this spring. Jamian Winfield was in town a couple times. DeQuavius Beck, Tank King, Cameron Hamil from Desert Edge, where A&M went in and got a pretty good one in that cornerback class last year. And Legend Bay, those are a few guys that visited multiple times throughout the course of spring practice. And that tells Booby Feaster is another one. That lets you know that they're not only interested in what A&M's doing and what they have to offer as far as the amenities, the facilities and everything, but they really had a chance to dive in and see those coaches in action, get an idea of what is happening with the offense, defense, wherever they're projected, and get a real good sense of how they might fit in with the coaches, with the style of play, with the what's being taught and everything, and I think that's always a positive. And then you look at just guys who we've seen over the last several months, including the fall, with Dorian Barney, Jordan Thomas, Braylon Womack, Ryan Mosley at receiver, Brandon Arrington. You've got some guys who have made their presence felt around College Station, and the staff has been on for a long time. So that's always a positive. Like I said in the long form, I wouldn't say collectively the odds aren't strong that they're going to land every single one of those, because things happen. Numbers, you're one guy may cancel out another in the totality of the big picture, but you do have some really good odds on an individual basis with each one of those guys.
If you have a question for Jason, you can text it or put it on the YouTube page or the TexAgs chat, 979-693-1150. That's the number you can text. Jason, so let's talk about what's next in the immediate and then middle and then long term, right? Just kind of give me a look at the calendar right away, what we can expect, and then as we move on closer to the summer.
Yeah, right now you're going to enter the spring contact period, which means that the coaching staff's going to be on the road. They're going to be out and about. They're going to be hitting spring practices of the kids. They're going to be meeting with parents and prospects, and you'll see the June official visit schedules already getting really full. June 5th is going to be the first big weekend for Texas A&M, and you've got guys like John Turntine. I want to say Brandon Arrington is that weekend. You've got a who's who of top prospects that are going to be making their way to College Station throughout the month of June, and it should set the table for you. You may see some action during that time, but a lot of those guys are going to be taking their visits. So look for some of that to play out into July and August as far as decisions. But you will see quite a bit of action over the next few months. And it's like I said, A&M is ahead of schedule right now, but they still have a lot of flexibility and a lot of really intriguing prospects on the board, which is where you want to be. And I think they've done a phenomenal job kind of setting the table.
Almost impossible in this world of college sports to know how many they want to take, right? Because it used to be like, hey, I think they'll take 18, 24 kids. Like now it's just everything's so fluid.
Yeah, and it can be, and the transfer portal plays a little bit of a role in that, and just kind of where you need experience and all that. But I think you could still have a pretty decent idea of where things are going. I think a class of about 25 is is going to still be around typical, with scholarship limits and everything still in flux and all that. Who knows what those numbers actually look like? But it's you do have some parameters. You're not going to take 5 linebackers or whatever. You're not going to take 7 offensive linemen on a typical year-to-year basis. So you're going to have to you do have to balance your depth chart and everything. Otherwise, you end up in some interesting situations where good prospects don't get to see the field. And I think Mike Elko and the staff have done a really good job of kind of keeping an eye on that and making things work with both the high school recruiting process and in the portal, which brings us to the latest there with the portal action. It hasn't been a whole lot, which we didn't anticipate because, we didn't anticipate a lot of action there, and I think that speaks to what we saw at the spring game and throughout the spring, where there's a lot of really talented players that could step up and fill in some depth in some spots, and that maybe we haven't heard as much about.
Well, let's talk about the portal on the other side. I want to get into that, what the latest is, because I know they have a visit, right? So we'll talk about that. Mm-hmm. We'll talk about the outgoing players, which is none, which has been great so far. So we'll get into that on the other side. Let's talk a little Heritage Films at the moment. Farming and ranching families think differently. It's not just working for today, but building for generations to come. And that's why Heritage Films created this awesome new product that they're calling Farm and Ranch Films. They documented timber operations in Washington, cattle ranches in Texas, agricultural legacies across America. And these aren't simply just documentaries. They're cinematic time capsules that capture a unique relationship between the land and the families, right? Whether you're thinking 20 years ahead or 100, Farm and Ranch Films preserves the wisdom, the work ethic, and the values that make agricultural families so special. Your legacy does deserve this level of craftsmanship. Visit yourheritagefilm.com and click on Farm and Ranch or call 713-893-8341. Remember, these are documentary films. They do it for families. They do it for family businesses. And now with Farm and Ranch, you're going to love the kind of stories that they can tell about your family's legacy on your ranch. It is Heritage Films. Tell me you don't know football by just tweeting or talking about stuff that are just ridiculous. Sharice on the YouTube page. Texas A&M could go 9-3 this year. That's their ceiling. Their ceiling, really? I mean, hold on. I think she said 8-4, or he, I don't know. At one point, 8-4, 9-3. That's your ceiling. That's I think a realistic prediction, but a ceiling. Last year they were 2 plays away from being 10-2 with Le'Veon Moss, their best offensive player, going down for the year. You want to say that that's what you predict? Fine, but saying their ceiling? Come on. Just act like you know football a little bit. TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Recruiting Country, brought to you by American Momentum Bank. We'll go back to Jason Howell in a second. Kaylee Dreyer's got some breaking news. Kaylee, at the Angry Elephant News and Social Center.
Yes, so Mark Weaver was just named SEC Coach of the Year, and 4 Aggies earned all SEC recognition. Mary Stoyana and Nicole Curran were named all SEC first team, while Mia Kupras and Luciana Perez were named second team. Texas A&M led all schools with 4 all-conference players.
I think your mic cut out, so the Coach of the Year was?
Mark Weaver was named SEC Co-Coach of the Year.
There you go. All right, we'll go back to Jason Howell. Jason, transfer portal. One guy left, which wasn't really ever here, right? And I know there's still time, but one guy.
Well, you did add Ernest Campbell this morning. He went in this. But yeah, I mean, two guys that really hadn't been much of a factor in the program at this point. One never really at all. But yeah, it hasn't been a bad little bit of activity for Texas A&M. They've done a good job holding on to some their big main pieces and a lot of guys that have a lot of promise. As far as getting in and being rotational guys and future standouts.
If they do add, where could they add? And let's talk about some of the traction.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've all talked about a big receiver, defensive tackle, kind of the biggest need areas or spots where you could see additions to what they already have. But I think especially on the defensive line, some of those young guys stepping up this spring could have helped, stop some of those, some of that need talk, at least in the offices over there. So, yeah, I think it speaks to what the lack of activity on both of those fronts. I think it speaks to what's in the portal and how much the coaches feel about what they already have on campus in terms of those 2 positions specifically and the quality of depth overall.
I know one of your favorite days of the year, or days, plural, is the NFL draft. And part of that is because you've been tracking some of these young men since they were 13, 14, 15 years old, right? So let's talk about this draft and some of the Texas connections you might have with some of these players throughout time that you've covered, and maybe some of the notable names.
Yeah, well, so I'm no draft expert. I've rely on several different resources just in the mainstream media, but I love following the draft and like you said, getting to see these guys come up through the high school ranks in the state of Texas is you get to see a lot of potential draft picks, and it's a big day for them and their families. And this has a chance to be one of the more productive first rounds for a lot of kids, for the kids in Texas. 2020 was one of the most in recent history. With 7 drafted Texans from the high school ranks. You had Jeffrey Okudah, CeeDee Lamb, Caleb Chasen, Jalen Rager, Kenneth Murray, Jordan Brooks, and Jeff Gladney in that draft, all in the first round. And it was I can't think of one recently that really comes close. But right now, you're looking at this draft coming up. and there's potential. There's 6 guys everybody's talking about making it in that first round that all played, high school football in the state of Texas. Ashton Genty from Frisco Lone Star. You got Cam Ward from Columbia. Shador Sanders from Trinity Christian Cedar Hill. Matthew Golden, Klein Kane, Kelvin Brooks, Summer Creek, Jade Barron out there in the Austin area. So you've got some guys, and then you got some guys that are fringe guys that could work their way into that first round. If the right run, especially on the defensive line with Shamar Turner, Nick Scorton, Landon Jackson in that mix. Donovan Jackson out of Houston Episcopal was a 5-star lineman before you headed off to Ohio State, and then. On the Texas college front, this has the chance to be one of the most productive drafts or first rounds since 2016, 2014, when four Texas college products were selected. Shamar Stewart has a chance to go off the board first in that group. He could potentially be the first Texas A&M prospect taken in the top 10 since Myles Garrett, and is projected higher than Kenyon Green, who went 15 and 22. So it could be a fun night for Aggie fans, for Texas high school football fans, and then of course you got Cam Ward in discussion for that number 1 overall pick, which would make him the first since Kyler Murray. And it would make him the fourth quarterback from the state of Texas selected first overall since 2000, or the 5th with Murray, Mayfield, Luck, and Matthew Stafford. So the only non-quarterback in that group since 2000 to be selected number 1 is Myles Garrett. So. Obviously, he's gone on to do great things, and you've got a lot to look forward to with the Texas college ranks, Texas A&M, and Texas high school football. So if I'm a betting man, I say they fall short of the 7 Texans drafted in 2020, but they could definitely make some noise and tie that mark with the Texas college product selected in the first round, and Cam Ward looks like the odds-on favorite to become the number 1 overall pick, which would make him the 15th and give Texas the most number 1 overall picks in the NFL draft of any state. So that's some unofficial record keeping by Jason Howell in the NFL draft.
Mr. Howell, appreciate your time, buddy. We'll talk to you soon.
Always a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
I just made you giggle by saying your name. You giggled. There's a little giggle there.
I'm a giggler. What can I say?
Hey, I giggle too. Thank you, brother. Appreciate you.
All right, man. Have a good one.
Jason Howell on the Buffy's Catering Hotline. All right, we got to hit a break here in a second, but I'm not going to just yet because I need group think, okay? All right, you know where I'm going, Kaylee? Nick, can you be involved in this conversation? All right, let's do this. Just for a quick second. When we talk about ceiling and floor, okay? Ceiling means the absolute best that people project
Best
they could do.
Best possible outcome, yeah.
Right? And floor is the absolute worst, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So, is it possible at all? Just asking out loud, okay? Is it possible for this A&M roster that went 8-4 last year, is it possible to believe they could go on the road and beat Notre Dame?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
It's possible. You're allowed to answer too, Kaylee, by the way.
Yeah. You think so?
Yes.
Okay. Is it possible? Now, I know it's possible they go 12-0, and it's possible they go 0-12. I understand that those, because Sharice, who I don't know if it's a guy or a girl yet, but Sharice on the YouTube page is a Texas fan who's engaging in conversation. But I just want to talk out loud, because I just want to make sure that we understand. To me, ceiling of a team that is recruited the way Texas A&M has, I don't think they're going to go 12-0. I don't think they're going to go 10-2. If we're talking about predictions, I'm not there. But we're talking about ceiling. Is it possible to go on the road and beat Notre Dame with a team that has replaced their quarterback, replaced part of their defense? Is that even a possibility?
Yes.
Okay. All right, everybody agrees. Is it possible that they beat Texas? Now, you may say no. Okay? Texas is going to come in at 1, 2, or 3. Texas is replacing a quarterback, replacing some wide receiver talent, replacing some defense. A game last year that I think Texas dominated and won by 10, and A&M was 2 plays away from making it interesting. And we all know, we watched the game, Texas was the better team. No doubt, not close, but A&M was a 4th and 1 away from making it, taking the lead in the first quarter, and a 4th and 1 away from the fourth quarter, making it a one-score game. Less than a one-score game. Well, it's still one score. Okay. What other game? LSU. They haven't won since 1994 on the road. I get it. So I'm not as yay, I think we, but can they win on the road at LSU? I think they can. I'm not that sold on LSU yet. All right. So are we all in agreement here?
Definitely possible.
Yeah, I think every game on that schedule you see right there is winnable. Every game is winnable. They're not going to win them all, most likely, but
no,
they're winnable.
If you were to ask me what my, I don't know which 3 or 4 they're going to lose. If I would, right now I'm 9-3, 8-4, which is where I've been for 36 years. All right. I feel like I'm every year. So I understand the thought process, but we're talking about ceiling. A realistic ceiling is 10-2. Realistic ceiling. That would mean having to beat a really good South Carolina team at home, having to beat a really good Florida team at home, and obviously winning a couple of those games on the road, or at least one of those games on the road, right? Being perfect at home and winning one of those really hard road games. I think they're going to beat Missouri as of today. I don't know enough. So I guess what I'm saying is, when we throw out these ceilings and floors thing, and hey, let me go on the Texas A&M show, and haha. I'm just saying, let's just think. Charisse, just think for a minute. Giggle. When we come back on TexAgs Live, Kendall Rogers, D1 Baseball. They've got A&M as a 2 seed? How did that happen? We'll talk about that. Right now, I almost read the wrong talking spot. Brazos Valley Wheel Repair. If your wheels have been damaged by potholes, curves, medians, go see the experts at Brazos Valley Wheel Repair. Don't replace damaged rims, repair them. The experts there have over 2 decades of experience and are always going to make sure that your wheel is returned to perfectly safe working condition. The road force balance. All wheels make sure they get the smoothest and safest possible ride out there. So if your wheels are in good shape, but you want a fresh new look, they got you. The pros at Brazos Valley Wheel Repair can create a unique custom look that will transform your car or truck, or every cosmetic repair that comes with a limited lifetime warranty. If you need tires to match your new custom rims, Brazos Valley Wheel Repair is going to hook you up there as well. They're awesome. They've got interest-free financing and even offers first responders, active military, and veterans a 10% discount with ID. What you need to do is go to bvwheelrepair.com, bvwheelrepair.com, or go in person, 508 Burnett Street in Bryan. It is Brazos Valley Wheel Repair. And we're back, TexAgs Live. We're presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. We're in the Rollo Insurance Studio. Let's talk some Aggie baseball. Nice victory yesterday, a nice victory over the weekend. D1 Baseball's Kendall Rogers joining us here on the Buppies Catering Hotline. Kendall, hello, sir.
Hey, how's it going, buddy?
It's going all right, man. So, kind of like what you guys are saying about my A&M baseball team. Kind of like it.
Yeah, how about that? It's just really interesting how college baseball can go. And I remember, you know, before the Tennessee series, I think we sat on here, and I think you had asked me, like, hey, are you pretty much kind of done with the season? Like, do you kind of feel like this team has no chance to turn it around? And at the time, we kind of felt like, no, it doesn't look like they're going to turn this around. But, you know, college baseball is a funny game. You think back to Oregon State 17, you know, they won the national championship when they were struggling for most of the year. Virginia back in 15 struggled much of the year, won the championship. Of course, Ole Miss. Then, you know, Fullerton, I always think back to the Fullerton team in 2004. You know, they were one game over 500, you know, on April 20th. And they end up winning the national championship. So there's always, you know, a team here and there every few years that, you know, for whatever reason, it just takes them half the season to kind of figure themselves out. And that seems to be the case with this A&M team.
Kendall, help me on this one, because this might be a dumb question, but like when you guys are projecting where teams are, you know, seed-wise and whatnot, is that based on if the season ended today? Or look, I'm looking at what they still have ahead, and if they win this series, lose this series, kind of like, you know, the projections, that's where they land.
Yeah, it's kind of a mix of both. I mean, we look heavily at the current state, but we also kind of look ahead a little bit. Like, for instance, we have Mississippi State out this week because we just kind of looked ahead at their schedule and said, hey, they're at, you know, 6 conference wins. You know, it's just a really difficult pathway to get to 13. So there's a little bit of looking ahead. But what's really interesting for this A&M team is if you look ahead, if you want to get very bullish here, you know, if they win this series this weekend, I mean, this sounds insane considering where they were, but I mean, they are an LSU series away, or a series win away, or a Georgia series win away from probably hosting, which is kind of crazy.
That's a crazy thought. Okay. So let's kind of look at this weekend, and it's going to be crazy. We knew it was going to be crazy regardless, right? But now I feel like there's the added element to where, like, we all were projecting what it could look like months ago, right? When Schloss left, hey, you're going to have a really good Texas team and maybe the number 1 team in the country in Texas A&M taking on their former coach. And it was already going to be crazy. Throw in the fact that Texas is now number 1. Throw in that A&M was already considered done for the season. There's no way they're going to make the tournament. And now they are amongst the hottest teams in baseball. Just talk about the craziness of this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if this would literally be the case, but, you know, to some extent, you got to feel like, you know, Shaw's probably looked back at, you know, about the midseason mark, and, you know, not doubt he's thinking too much about A&M right now because his team's having a great season. But, you know, if you're looking ahead at the schedule, obviously, whether you're A&M or whether you're early or whether you're Jim, like, you're looking forward to the A&M Texas series, but in a way, it's kind of like, here we go. And I think if you're Jim and that staff, if you would have looked at A&M at the midseason mark, you're like, okay, like those guys are going to come here. They're going to be scuffling. They're going to be doubting themselves. Like, okay, that's about the best case scenario we can think of. Now it's kind of like the worst case scenario you could think of it for those guys, because you've got A&M rolling there with a full head of steam, and Jared Spencer, unfortunately, I mean, I've loved the job that he's done in the Friday spot for UT this year. He's out for the weekend, probably out for the year for them, which would be a pretty tough blow. But, I mean, you're going to a weekend without your Friday starter. You're having to reshuffle your whole pitching staff. Meanwhile, you know, A&M thinks they're back to kind of being that number 1 national championship type of team. And that's a scary combo. So I just think if you look at all those different variables, going into the weekend, obviously, I would think A&M would have a pretty significant crowd over in Austin. I think a lot of people bought tickets earlier in the year. It's going to be a lot of fun. It is good as it gets for a regular season college baseball series. And here's the other thing. We don't even talk about this because of the sauce element, but this is the first series that A&M and Texas have played as members of the Southeastern Conference, and the first series they've played since A&M left the Big 12. And we're not even really talking about that because of the sauce element.
How much? Okay, who's it going to be more emotional for? and maybe emotional is not the right word, because I think emotional maybe for the A&M fans and the players, right? But like, how much emotion or drama is going to be in the Texas mindset as the number one team, as all these eyeballs on this, and Schloss going against his former team? And that's got to be hard for him, because I'm sure it was hard when they took on TCU at A&M, right? And then conversely, the A&M point of view of, hey, some of those guys probably have a good relationship with him, but he left them. He left them, and he left his entire program. So emotionally, is Schloss up against it? Is A&M up against it? Are they both up against it?
I think they both are to some degree. And, I'd even throw early in the mix. I mean, let's not forget how much he was kind of thrown in that drama as well. But, I mean, I think they're both up against a little bit. I kind of look back at Bronny's interview with Shaw yesterday, and, he kind of asked me about the Texas series. And, Shaw didn't tip his hand too much. But, I thought it was funny when he kind of said, yeah, it's just another series. And he just kind of like glared at Bronny. And it's just kind of like that. I kind of feel like that's the mindset a little bit. It's kind of like, hey, this is all business, but there's a personal element here. And I'll say this about Jim, too. Knowing how competitive of a person he is, there's zero question that his decision to leave A&M had nothing to do with those players. So I don't think there's one, I think there is an element of him where he hates playing those players. There's also an element of him where, that was a nasty split, and he's certainly well documented some of the phone calls and stuff like that he's gotten. So I'm sure, as odd as it is, like, he wants to be at A&M more than anybody else. So it's just a lot of really competitive people playing the game of baseball, and potentially the biggest series of the year in college baseball. It's going to be pretty, I don't know if chippy would be the right word. I always kind of I always try to underrate the chippiness, because, like, as much as a rivalry as it is, all these kids know each other. Like, they literally, like, play with each other in travel ball. They're playing each other in high school baseball. Like, I don't think it's really the players that are going to be chippy. I think it's kind of more so in the stands.
How maroon do you think it's going to feel at the Dish?
How many A&M fans I think will be there?
Yeah, I mean, because it's been rowdy before.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to say A&M will have about 1,000, maybe 800 people there. I mean, it all depends on how many people bought tickets early on. But, I've gone back and forth in the series. It's just really hard to pick against Texas at home just because, I mean, every single time they've had somebody go down, they've had somebody step up, and they play a really good brand of baseball. But, I mean, there's no doubt, man, when you look at just the way A&M's playing right now, you've got your bullpen pieces starting to come together with Weston Moss. I mean, Luke Jackson grew up a lot, I thought, last weekend in Fayetteville. And this offense, I mean, when TK is hitting a home run for you, that means things are going right.
Who are some of the other hot teams? I know Texas is obviously hot. A&M is obviously hot. Who are some of the other teams we need to pay attention to? I think Florida State's had a good run recently.
Yeah, they were a team that, a couple of weeks ago really struggled, but they've kind of regained their footing a little bit. Joey Vellini and Jamie Arnold have gotten back to pitching really well. Clemson, shut out Georgia last night. They have yet to lose a series this year. So, they're on quite a heater right now. Vanderbilt, yeah, a team, again, A&M would love to go back and play Vanderbilt and Alabama again, given how close a couple of those games were. But, Vandy sweeps Georgia over the weekend. Georgia, by the way, offensively really starting to scuffle. They've got OU at home this weekend. Out west, a couple of teams I got my eye on. Oregon State riding a 12-game streak. They play the Ducks this weekend. Oregon coming off a series win over UCLA last weekend, so that's a really intriguing series there in that state. And then in terms of other teams, I know they lost last night, but I continue to really like West Virginia. I think they're very offensive. Pitching can be a little up and down, but that's a really good baseball team.
Kendall, appreciate your time, brother. Take care.
You got it, man. See ya.
All right, we'll hit a break here. We'll come back with a final segment around the SEC, and we'll get to your text messages. Right now, we're keeping water local. Not just anybody's water. We're talking about the water in Brazos and Robertson County. And let's think about it. It's the lifeblood of everything we do. It's right now that we got to worry about out-of-town interest trying to take that water away and threatening our community's future. That's why I want you to consider Keep Water Local. They have a website that's keepwaterlocal.org, and what they are is a group of neighbors fighting to protect what matters most. If you care about this community, you got to watch out for what is happening to our water, not just the water coming out of our taps, but preserving our farms and our businesses and that Aggie spirit that makes this place so special. losing control of your water means losing the future, and it's really losing a lot of what makes this community what is so special about it. And right now, go to keepwaterlocal.org. Keepwaterlocal.org. Get involved and keep water right here where it belongs, local. And we're back. TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner. Steelers Rollo Insurance Studio, just in my thoughts. Troubadour Festival returns to Aggie Park on Saturday, May 17th for the ultimate Texas barbecue and country music experience. Sample smoked meats from about 30 of the best barbecue joints in Texas. See a music lineup that features Shane Smith and the Saints, Randy Rogers and Wade Bowen on their Hold My Beer and Watch tour, and 49 Winchester, Josh Malloy, Hudson Westbrook, and more. There's tickets available now at troubadourfestival.com. All right, friends, let's do this. Let's do Around the SEC, presented by Jack Sir. And Jack Sir wants to make sure that you know that if you're looking to build your dream home on your lot, that the Jack Sir Group will help you navigate the entire project from start to finish, making sure your home perfectly suits your lifestyle, preferences, and budget to turn your dream home into a reality. Visit them at jaxsir.com. That's JAXSIR.com. Kaylee Dreyer, give us some news. I know we had some tennis news, but let's kind of rehear it.
Yeah, so just to recap, Mark Weaver was named SEC Co-Coach of the Year, and this was announced earlier this morning. 4 Aggies also earned all SEC recognition. Mary Stoyana and Nicole Kieran were named all SEC first team, and Mia Kupras and Luciana Perez were named to second team. Texas A&M led all schools with 4 all-conference players.
All right. That's good. Any text messages that came in?
We don't, but we do have a few shocking baseball scores from yesterday.
Okay, give it to me.
Unranked Kentucky run rule number 19 Louisville 17-5.
17-5?
Yes.
Wow.
And then also number 9 Vanderbilt lost to Middle Tennessee 5-3. And then Texas had a close game last night with Texas State. They ended up winning 14-11, but it was really close until the 9th inning.
The nerve of the bot on the YouTube page. The bot on the YouTube page, Charisse, Frank, is like, I've asked the bot questions, and it won't answer any of the questions. And I said, why won't you answer my questions? And homeboy or homegirl says, because your questions are irrelevant to the topic. It's my show. I pick the topics, even on the chat. Correct or incorrect?
Correct.
All right. Thank you for the validation.
Definitely a bot.
1000% bot. By the way, Charisse, because I'm the host of the show and the moderator, I can see everything you've looked at on YouTube. A little embarrassing. All right, that's going to do it for TexAgs Live here on a Wednesday. Tomorrow on the program, Stephen McGee. We'll have a lot more than just that. Aaron Torres. And I don't know, we'll probably have something else. That and more. Thanks so much for watching. We will see you mañana.